What up? What up? What up? Welcome to another episode of the Sportspsp podcast, the highlight of Friday nights. Hope everyone's enjoying a fantastic evening. Um, got word from the good BRF Sports. He says I'm coming on. He's going to be a little bit late, so in case if anyone is wondering where BRF's going to be, he's got to take care of some family things. We totally understand. But always a pleasure doing the Sports PSP podcast, the highlight of Friday nights. Sitting next here to my gentleman on the right. Of course, we cannot do the Sports PSP podcast without the one and only Columbus, Georgia's own. He is the four-time college degree champion, military man, veteran, brilliant, knowledge, sophisticated, the young Charles Barkley, as I call him, the Al Roker of journalism. He's been staying away from daiquiris and po' boys. He's been doing a great job of that, but make no mistake about it, he will definitely stop by there football season, especially that pigskin season. He's the type of brother that you can hang out with at the crib, jokes, have a good time. Definitely going to be snatching a plate or two of some good chicken and collard greens and some sweet potato pie on the side. The one and only undisputed world champ. How you doing, brother?
You are not going to get a better introduction than that. You're not going to get a better introduction than that. We just going to call you the 100K man right about now because you'll be at a milli pretty soon. But hey, always a privilege, a pleasure, and an honor to be here, man, all the time, man. Like I always say, man, of course, PSP, you put me on podcasting when I was doing videos on TikTok, and hey, been on here ever since, man. And hey, man, hey, I can't stress this enough, man. Don't let PSP fool you. He's great in his own right. He be hiding his greatness from y'all, man. This man is great. You talk about me having a degree. He have a degree as well, man. He just as smart, if not smarter. I call him the New Jersey genius for a reason. So don't let him fool you on television and make you think this guy is smart. He's smart as a whip, man. How we say it down south, man. So hey, man, PSP, keep doing your thing up to a 115K, doing this thing and bouncing all over New Jersey, man. So hey, like the red man say, dirty Jersey, hunt him down. So
Absolutely. Thank you for that shout out, brother. And thank you to everyone out here. And also, happy early birthday to Mama PSP. Mama's PSP's birthday is coming up pretty soon. So happy birthday to her. She's taking care of a lot of responsibilities. She'll be back home later on. Always appreciate Mama PSP. Always appreciate the beautiful women out there. Champ, as you know, the great D, you and I, we talk to from time to time. Of course, my beautiful girl, Angie, Kaylin, all the beautiful women out there. What up? What up? And of course, even though it's the last few days of June, Men's Mental Health Month, fellas, take time for yourselves. Take time to take care of yourself, your friends, your family. Make sure you're talking to people in need, especially in times like this. I know times have been pretty difficult, but please make sure you take care of your mental health as well as women, as well as our kids too. So make sure you take care of yourself. You're nothing without your mental health. But champ, NBA Finals. We've come to a conclusion. Oklahoma City finally winning the championship, finally ending the Seattle Supersonics talk. Now they have a championship in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Happy to Sam Presti, SGA winning Finals MVP. Hell of a year for him. MVP, Western Conference Finals MVP, and now Finals MVP. The big three with him, Chet Holmgren, Jalen Williams, Alex Caruso from your Lakers as well. A champion 2 times now. One with the Lakers and with the Oklahoma City Thunder. As for the Indiana Pacers, you picked the Pacers, man. They had a hell of a season. Unfortunately, game 7, Tyrese Halliburton ruptured his Achilles. Champ, we discussed this on the pod, and I said I don't think he should have played. We thought, okay, set him out for game 6, and then game 7, all right. We'll see how it goes. He played in game 6, and to his credit, as well as the Pacers, they won that game. Game 7, I understand, do or die. There's no promise tomorrow. And then he unfortunately got hurt. Shams Charania reported he's gonna be out for the rest. Shams Charania reported that it was a ruptured Achilles. Look, I don't want to take anything away from Oklahoma City because they did their job. Does losing Halliburton hurt the Pacers? Absolutely. He's the heart and soul, as well as TJ McConnell, as well as a lot of other players. Champ, the reason why Oklahoma City won game 7 was because Indiana's turnovers. They keep turnovering the ball. TJ McConnell did the best that he could coming off the bench, providing the energy, but still it wasn't enough. Jalen Williams stepped up. Oklahoma City, they had their problems as far as shooting with the 3. But they were like, game 7, we're not going to lose this one. And I just give a lot of credit to the Oklahoma City Thunder. And I don't think anybody should diminish nor take away what they did this season. It was a hell of a year, and they have something to look forward to. This is the potential of a dynasty. I know it sounds cliche, but I don't think it's cliche. I don't think it's cliche at all to say with Oklahoma City, it's a dynasty, because when you have that young talent and when you still have Sam Presti as the guy making the decisions, and with all those draft picks, it's something. But Champ, as I said with Tyrese Halliburton, he should not have played because you hurt your chances if you're Indiana as far as competing in the East. Boston is, I mean, there's not even reports about trading Jaylen Brown. Jason Tatum is out because of the Achilles. We're going to talk about it a little bit later, but they did trade Drew Holiday to the Portland Trail Blazers for Anthony Simmons, and they traded Porzingis to the Atlanta Hawks.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, there's no excuse for the New York Knicks not to make the NBA Finals, because with all these moves, and still to this day, they can't even land a head coach. Oh God! But but that's a story for another day. But Champ, it's Oklahoma City's. It's their world. We living in it. We just got to give credit where credit is due. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander had a hell of a season. The organization, they should be proud. And it's something for the great Oklahomians to look forward to, because I know Oklahoma is really more of a football state because of Oklahoma Sooners, the Red River rivalry. Of course, you know, Oklahoma versus Texas, all the great legendary players who have played at the University of Oklahoma and Oklahoma State. Well, now you got basketball to look forward to. And I know it's not a big market, but game 7. Did you check out the ratings for game 7, Champ?
Yeah, it was over 18, over the highest rated finals game 7 since 2019. So they did their job. I mean, for it to be 2 small markets and people to say, well, it's a boring finals, you sure as hell could have fooled me, because everybody was watching it. It was almost 20 million people that watched. And that's what the NBA needs. People keep complaining. The thing is, I forget what music group made this. I think it was In Vogue. I don't know for sure. And they had a song called Never Satisfied. It seems like us basketball fans were never satisfied. When super teams was running rampant all over the NBA, we kept saying that, oh my God, everybody's just wanting to join forces with each other. They want to be the new Avengers. They want to be like they was in the AAU team. And we used to applaud guys like Giannis who didn't want to be on super teams. We used to applaud that. Now we're complaining because of parity. What do we want, basketball fans? What do we really want? Do you want parity, or do you want to live through the super team era again? Because it seems like no matter what the NBA does, they can never be satisfied as far as the fans are concerned. It's like, because 7 different champions have been the past 7 years. And we're complaining about that because there's not any dynasty. Hey, It just goes to show you it's hard. It just goes to show us how hard it really is to be a dynasty. How hard that a lot of those teams had to work in order to win 2 in a row, 3 in a row. Funny thing about San Antonio, they considered a dynasty, but they never went back to back. That's how hard it really is. So let's be grateful for this greatness that we're getting, because guess what? Hey, when the dynasties and the super teams, things have a way of coming back. Things have a crazy way of coming back. They have a crazy way of coming back, because super teams wasn't just born. They were born in the 80s. You know, they even were in the 70s with Wilt Chamberlain and Jerry West, guys like that. They had a backcourt ending for the New York Knicks long before any of us were even thought of. They had Earl the Pearl, they had Walt Frazier, and they had Bill Bradley. So there's always going to be super team. Things have a way of coming back around when we think they're gone. Remember this year in the NFL, everybody thought that the running back was gonna be phased out eventually. Come to find out, you need your running back more than ever. But the thing is this: I'm proud that a small market team won, and that they have the potential to have a dynasty. Oklahoma City is not an attraction for a big free agent. It's not Los Angeles. It's not one of these. It's not New York. It's not one of those big time Philadelphia, one of those big time markets that you would just love to go to, an attractive town. And if you really look at some of these towns right now who are in the big markets, they haven't really recovered as far as their franchises are concerned. You look at Chicago, they haven't recovered since Derrick Rose. If you really look at Philadelphia, they're suffering with the process, however long it's going to be there. You look at LA, things were, up and down to the point where Jeannie Buss had to sell the team. So it just goes to show us the changing of the guard. That is the freshest haircut that you are ever going to get, my friend. That is nice. And who did that, man?
I did.
Really?
Yeah, I did it last night.
Well, damn. Okay, looking good and sharp. That's nice right there. Got the
my daughter's coming home this weekend, so we got to be fresh. My daughter's coming home, so we got to be fresh.
Okay, you got the good haircut, got sugar daddy beard on. I see you.
Yeah, I know, man. I don't see. The thing is, it's like I don't really pay attention to it that much until I really look at it. And I'm like, now look at it, I'm like, damn, you know what? That ain't half bad. I can roll with it.
So you gonna be part of the Silver Fox gang in a minute, man. You better watch out now.
boy, hey, boy, I'm 40 this year. You got me looking ahead to some good times.
Silver Fox gang. I salute you. But yeah, that just goes to show us how frugal NBA and basketball. We're about it. Basketball fans are about as terrible as wrestling fans. It's just like you're never satisfied, and that's just how it is. But I'm glad that a small market team was able to win and potentially be a dynasty. Like I said, Oklahoma City, I'm not exactly beating my door down in order to get to Oklahoma City. Now, they have some hell of a casinos out there. You want to go out there, you want to gamble, I think it's called Chickasaw Casinos. A hell of a casino out there. I think it's like 2 hours away from Oklahoma City. They got some hell of a casinos out there. But that's not exactly where you want to go. That's not the sexy move in order to go from Chicago to Oklahoma City, to go from Miami to Oklahoma City, Philadelphia to Oklahoma City, from LA to Oklahoma City. So for them to win a title in a small market is amazing. Not to mention, look, when you think about Seattle was a bigger market than people gave it credit for. It was the 11th biggest market in the world. And for you to win a title in a small market, a very, very smaller market, more than 30 years later, and have defeated the demons of the Seattle Supersonics, that's amazing. Hey, Sam Presti is definitely going to go down in history. This championship submitted his legacy as one of the greatest general managers of all time. Because if you really look at a lot of small market teams, they always go through this period of irrelevancy. The Indiana Pacers went through it. The Sacramento Kings went through it. You name the small market team, they always have this up and down cycle. They're either really good or really darn bad. When you look at Oklahoma City, ever since Sam Presti has taken over, it's been nothing less than the playoffs nearly every darn year. The only time where it wasn't was when KD and Westbrook got hurt. Even when they brought in Chris Paul with that young core, he was able to lead them to the playoffs. So for him to patchwork that thing while they was getting better, while they were developing these young players, while they was getting guys like SGA ready for the big times, that just goes to show you how great of a basketball mind that Sam Presti really is. And the transition going from Seattle, coming to Oklahoma City with not a lot of good fanfare. Remember, the world was PO'd about the Supersonics leaving.
Right.
They were PO'd. So for that to happen, you to finally win a championship, get over the hump, that's amazing. He definitely deserves a lot of credit. And guess what? I believe that this one championship, it means more than a lot of other championships that a lot of other general managers get in these larger markets. I think that this championship has single-handedly stamped Sam Presti into the Basketball Hall of Fame.
Well, it has to, because again, he has done a tremendous job accumulating talent. Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, James Harden, Serge Ibaka, SGA, Jalen Williams, Chet Holmgren. I mean, and all these draft picks, as you mentioned before, Champ, that they still have. And it's still only coming for Oklahoma City. So they ain't going anywhere. But of course, we got the great BRF Sports in the building. How you doing, brother?
Doing pretty good after another good long week of work. Can't complain. Life is good. Like I said, like when you brought me on, tomorrow I'm going to make that. I'm going to get my daughter. She's spending the rest of the summer here, so I'm definitely excited about that as well. So I can't complain. Times are pretty good right now. I can't complain at the moment. How y'all brothers doing?
We doing good, man. We doing good, man. Chilling, and just having a great time. BRF, what were your thoughts about the NBA Finals overall?
It was an amazing series. I really enjoyed it, every bit of it. I think the basketball fans out there that have like really grown up and really got to see really, really good playoff series, whether it was all of the Bulls Knicks Eastern Conference wars, or whether it was, seeing just like seeing the Celtics and Lakers, do one for old time's sake in 2010 going 7, or just all of even the amazing playoff series this year. Like, I think it's safe to say this was a pretty amazing NBA playoffs this year. It was good. It was like great to watch. Like the basketball was just like, I mean, I guess if you want to say it was foul ridden, maybe, but at the same time, I felt like it was good. There was a lot of good team basketball that was played, and it was just I just really enjoyed the playoffs for the most part this year, and getting Oklahoma City and Indiana, like we talked about it, like before the series started. I was praying to God for 7 games. I feel like this series deserves 7 games. It deserves 7 games, and the fact that it got 7 games, it was a tremendous series. Shout out to the Indiana Pacers. It's like no matter what you do to them, it's like they find a way to get back up, and they find a way to just make it competitive and keep it close, which is exactly what happened in Game 7 after the unfortunate Halliburton injury. For them to really still kind of make that a game, because a lot of teams could have quit right there. Losing your best player like that, a lot of teams could have folded the tent. But they didn't do that. They kept fighting and they kept fighting. Shout out to TJ McConnell for having a hell of a third quarter in that Game 7. Ben Mathurin stepped up. I mean, even when you kind of knew that Oklahoma City was about to take it home, like he just kept scoring and kept putting in buckets and kept it close. And that was I enjoyed watching the NBA Finals. I thought it was a really fun series. The better team definitely did win. I do still feel like the better team won. I know there are people that are going to be out there talking about Tyrese Halliburton getting injured in Game 7. what are people going to say to that? They, in the other injuries, whether it was Tatum getting hurt or it was Tatum getting hurt, Dame getting hurt. I'm like, you know what? At the end of the day, you play who's in front of you. You can't control who you play. You can't control the men on the other roster. Injuries are unfortunate. Absolutely, you wish nobody to get hurt, but at the end of the day, you have to play who's in front of you. And just like Oklahoma City, just really they came to play. They came to play at the end of the day. Like SGA, like one of the greatest single season of all time. First player to win MVP, scoring title, Western Conference Finals MVP, and NBA Finals MVP in the same season. First player to do that in history. Definitely is going to go down as one of the greatest single seasons ever. And I mean, and you just gotta give a lot of love to OKC for just building this back up after the original big three left, after KD, Harden, and Westbrook, after they all left, and you gotta shout them out for doing it the right way and building through the draft. Making acquiring players when you had to, because like the SGA acquisition. I mean, Lord have mercy, like that Paul George trade is going to go down in the annals of NBA history as one of the potential,
that's on Kawhi Leonard. That's on Kawhi Leonard too, because he wanted Paul George to come to the Clippers.
That true. You're right. That is definitely on Kawhi Leonard. But we ain't finna. But we're not. But they didn't call that the Kawhi Leonard finals. That's the Paul George finals. That's the Paul George series. That's the Paul George series. Because Paul George started with the Indiana Pacers, and then ultimately ended up with the Oklahoma City Thunder. So he had his hands on both of these franchises. I mean, back in the early 2010s, the Indiana Pacers were competing in the Eastern Conference, getting to the Eastern Conference Finals, given the Heatles, the LeBron, Wade, Bosh Heat, all they could handle in the Eastern Conference Finals, ultimately left. And then Oklahoma City having one of if not the best season of his career when he was an MVP candidate for pretty much all of that season, only to only 2018, only to get bounced out by one of the greatest series clinching shots in the history of the game when Damian Lillard sent them boys home. Yeah, like I think we kind of gotta look at this. I think we gotta look at that trade that landed SGA. Like Kawhi Leonard. Yeah, he definitely made the call, but you have to look at that trade. Paul George going to the Clippers, and then them netting SGA. And when you watched SGA in LA, you had a sense like there was something there, like there was talent there, and you could feel like the potential was like booming out of him. And then it's like he got the OKC,
Chris Paul,
and then, was he humongous. I mean, you having somebody to really kind of mentor you and just learn how to play the game, learn the position of point guard, learn how to really. It's almost like it sped his development up in such a way into like what we're seeing now as being one of the faces of the league. Being in top 2, top 3, top 5 conversations, wherever you want to put him. I mean, he's there. So it's almost like It's like we're seeing another, like an evolving of the game now. And, it's like we're getting away from that era where it's like Braun and Steph and KD, like they're nearing the end. We're starting to get away from that era, and now you're seeing like the SGAs and the Anthony Edwards. And when he gets back from his injury, you got to put Jason Tatum in this conversation. So we're getting into this new era of just elite, talented players. And I mean, it's like, do we have like a singular face of the league? No, we don't. But at the same time, it's like, I feel like the league is still going to be in good hands at the end of the day, from the standpoint of the youthfulness that they have and like what they bring to the table and how they put themselves on display for the world to see, especially in big time moments. Like, I mean, good gracious. I mean, look at a guy like Anthony Edwards. He's basically earned the nickname of the Legend Killer. He is the Randy Orton of the NBA. This man take out Hall of Famers like it ain't nobody business. I mean, it's just an amazing thing what you're seeing out of him. Jason Tatum, bringing the Boston Celtics an NBA championship last season, and then seeing Tyrese Halliburton, his growth. Ultimately he had that unfortunate injury that's probably going to keep him out all of the 2025-2026 season. But seeing his growth in the playoffs, like this league is going to be in good hands with this generation of players that's currently residing in the NBA. I think it's perfectly fine. I think it's going to be perfectly fine. I'm just happy we got a really, really good NBA finals to really hopefully set the tone for the next 3, 5, 10 years down the road. This NBA playoffs as a whole, just the league to see the hands that the league is in good hands with these players, and I'm just glad we got a great NBA finals and just great basketball. Just it put a good feeling in my heart when Indiana won that game 6, and we knew we were getting to game 7. It put a good feeling in my heart because I mean I just wanted it to come down to the wire. I wanted one game to really put it out there, to put it all out there, and just shout out to both franchises for having an amazing series. And I'm looking forward to 2025 because I tell you, man, the West, I feel like 2025, I think this series really set up 2025 because I think the West and the East, the West, even though Oklahoma City are the Western Conference champions, as dominant as they were last year, next year could be one of the more wide open cases of the NBA we've seen in a long time. So I'm hoping to set the tone for really good, competitive, and just parity-filled basketball. The playoffs as a whole was just an exciting treat to watch, and the finals was just that last real cherry on the top to really bring it home and show the league and show the world that this generation of players that's currently going now, the NBA is going to be in good hands, and I can't ask for anything more than that.
Mm-hmm. Fellas, let's talk about the NBA trades. Of course, Porzingis getting traded to the Atlanta Hawks, BRF's Atlanta Hawks. Of course, the Celtics trading away Drew Holiday to the Portland Trail Blazers. I feel bad for Drew Holiday because, again, he was a key contributor to the Boston Celtics in terms of being somewhat of a scorer, and, of course, his perimeter defense. And for him to be in Portland, which right now it's not in the best shape, if you know what I mean. I would like to see him at least in a playoff contender or a championship contender just to finish off his career. But meanwhile, the trade of trades, Kevin Durant to the Houston Rockets. Sham Charania reported Jalen Green, Dylan Brooks, 5 second-round picks, and this year's first-round pick, which was the 10th overall pick, to the Houston Rockets gave up all those draft picks to the Phoenix Suns in exchange for Kevin Durant. Now, Kevin Durant is going to be 37 in September. I mean, if you look at the lineup, there's him. I forget who plays the 2. KD would probably be at like the 3 or the 4. There's Alfred Sengun, who had a hell of a season last year, made the All-Star team. Houston is coming off the 2nd seed. They got bounced out in the first round by the Golden State Warriors. No shame there. But to me, I think Phoenix won this one because you have all those draft picks and you have something to look forward to. They also did well by getting a big man in Mark Williams, somebody who the Los Angeles Lakers wanted because they tried to get him in a trade, but it was reneged due to him failing his physical. Correct me if I'm wrong, champ.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct.
So I don't know what Kevin Durant could do at this point. He still can play. Don't get me wrong. He still can give you 25, 26. But is it going to be enough in order for Houston to win a championship? Now, if this were to Kevin Durant 5-6 years ago, okay, maybe you have a chance. But I don't know about Houston in the West when there's still OKC. Denver, I'm not going to rule out Denver because of Jokic and Murray. We got to wait and see who they're going to get as a head coach. The Lakers, we got to wait and see what the Lakers are going to do. But with the new ownership, we expect them to flourish as opposed to the Buss family with Jeannie and Jim. I still think Phoenix won this one. Now, Phoenix, they're going to have to decide what they're going to do because they have a lot of twos with Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, Jalen Green. They're going to have to give up a trade. They're probably going to give up Bradley Beal. So I still feel like Phoenix won this one because you have all those draft picks. You have something to look forward to. As for Houston, I don't think landing Kevin Durant at this juncture is icing on the cake in order for them to win a championship. They'll get you to the playoffs, maybe the conference semis, but it's not enough, in my opinion. So, BRF, I'll let you go. What were your thoughts on the KD trade and just the trades in general?
Houston, to me, as currently constructed with KD, is still a top 4 seed. They're still a top 4. Because, I mean, you're losing Jalen Green, who's a good player, but he's an overrated player. Dylan Brooks, I mean, give you some defense, can shoot the ball. But, I mean, not like, oh, my God, we lost Dylan Brooks. Like, oh, my God, stop the pressers. It's not that big a loss. And then the 5 second-round picks, maybe you could possibly bundle them up for something else. I don't, it depends. Do I agree Phoenix? Yeah, I agree. I would say Phoenix won the trade just off of acquiring assets that could ultimately, build your future if mortgaged and, utilized correctly. But like if you look at the current Houston rotation, I mean, you kept Van Vliet, so he's your starting point guard. More than likely, it's probably going to be Amen Thompson at the 2, probably KD at the 3. I guess I don't know. Your power forward. I mean, they're still pretty high on Jabari Smith Jr., so he'll probably start at the 4. You got Sengun at the 5. So I mean, it's a good. I mean, it's not like it's a bad lineup. It's a good lineup. I mean, it's a lineup with that depth they still have in Houston. It's a lineup that should get you to the playoffs and should have you competing for. They should. The roster Houston has should not be competing for the play-in. They should be competing for a top 6 seed for the playoffs. They should not be anywhere near the play-in. They should be competing for a top 6 seed. Exactly, especially with Ime Udoka, especially with him, especially with Ime. He is still one of the brightest minds at head coach in the league. He is still really good. So yeah, they still have him. So yeah, they definitely should still be a contender for a top 6 seed with Ime Udoka as a head coach. As far as all of the trades in general, I mean, sound like a home all I want to, but my favorite trade is what Atlanta did. I feel, as a matter of fact, Atlanta really over the last 2-3 days, in my opinion, as far as the franchise, has done the best work of any franchise. Has done the best work, and it really boils down to one. You look at Kristaps Porzingis, and I talked about it in my video that I made the other day. Yes, it banks on his health, and it always is going to bank on his health. But if Kristaps Porzingis is healthy, the Atlanta Hawks are one of the scariest teams in the Eastern Conference. They are one of the scariest teams in the Eastern Conference if he stays healthy, because your potential starting lineup is Trey, Dyson Daniels, Jalen Johnson at the 3, KP at the 4, and Okongwu at the 5. That's scary. And I saw a stat that Trae Young and Kobe Buffkin, who's going to be coming back as his backup point guard because he suffered an injury last season, they're the only 2 players on that entire roster that are shorter than 6'6". I mean, I don't know who decided to wake up and walk into the Atlanta Hawks front office and bring common sense with them as far as how to build a roster around Trae Young. But they have finally gotten this roster construction correct with Trae Young at the point guard. You got a lot of big bodies. You got a lot of athletic bodies. You got a lot of guys that can shoot. You got a lot of guys that can run the floor, play defense. They have finally constructed this roster to hopefully fully utilize what Trae Young is going to be able to do in terms of his playmaking. Yes, is the offense still a lot? Yes, does he cause the offense still be a lot heliocentric with him? Yeah, he still causes that. But as long as guys like Jalen Johnson and Zach Risache, who's now more than likely going to be your sixth man, who was only the runner-up in Rookie of the Year voting last year, he's your sixth. I think, from what I understand, Karis LeVert wants to stay, so more than likely you're gonna sign him. And then the draft Asa Newell from the Georgia Bulldogs at 23. When you wanted him at 13, you take the 13 pick, you give it to the New Orleans Pelicans, who I swear to God, whoever is running the New Orleans Pelicans front office need to be shamed, because I'm telling you, the Atlanta Hawks should thank the basketball gods that they get to make deals with the New Orleans Pelicans, because
I don't know what Joe Dumars is doing in New Orleans, man. And Joe Dumars is a good executive. I understand.
He's a really good executive.
I understand he gets a lot of criticism because of the taking Darko Milicic with the second overall pick over Carmelo, Wade, and Bosch. But in this draft,
like you, and it's not just the fact that you gave the Atlanta Hawks the 23rd pick. I mean, not only did you let them drop 10 spot back and get the guy they wanted, you give them an unprotected first round pick. To the chat. Basically, what this is going to dictate: whoever plays worse between the Milwaukee Bucks and the New Orleans Pelicans, that's who the draft pick Atlanta's going to wind up with for 2026, which means Atlanta could make the playoffs, whether they win a championship or not. They could win the playoffs, make a good run, and possibly have a top 5 pick for 2026. Somebody do something with the New Orleans front office, please. Because I feel like Joe Dumars has too much sense as an executive to make some of the moves that he's made. It's almost like he's trying to trade them out the city or nothing. I don't know what he's doing, but it's like the Atlanta Hawks should thank the New Orleans Pelicans every day for the last 2 really, really big deals they've done with them, because Atlanta fleeced them before last season. The DeJounte Murray deal, where they brought back Dyson Daniels, who won most improved player and was runner up for defensive player of the year. What are we doing, New Orleans? What are we doing? What are we really doing?
Who was drafted by the New Orleans Pelicans, and I did a video on this on TikTok on how he was one of the exciting players I was looking forward to, because he got good NBA size, needs to work on his jump shot a little bit more, but he provided defense, and they needed somebody to replace Lonzo Ball because Lonzo Ball moved to Chicago. Yeah. Now he's in Atlanta with Trae Young, and
thriving.
You talk about it, BRF, with Porzingis, assuming if he can stay healthy, him and Okongwu, that's going to be an exciting front court, because all KP's going to have to do, just stretch the floor, hit some perimeter shots, provide the rim protection. Okongwu is capable of giving you a double-double. There should be no excuse for Trae Young not to evolve or flourish with this team. And if he doesn't, then that's really on him, because the Hawks so far, they've done their homework. Remember, because at one point it was either him or DeJounte Murray. Which one are we going to keep and build around? They wanted to keep Trae Young
Which
Despite
was the right,
trading,
which was the right move. It was the right move. I'm not keeping, even when it was a debate. I'm not keeping DeJounte Murray over Trae Young. Even when it was a debate, ain't no way, no way. Because even if DeJounte Murray being a better defender than Trae, he's nowhere near the offensive force that Trae Young can be on a nightly basis. Nowhere near. So that was the right trade when the debate started. Because people tried to make a debate, and I'm just listening, and I'm just like, y'all. Some of the people were saying like, no, we need to keep DeJounte, and I'm just looking at them. I'm like, y'all really want to do that? DeJounte over Trae, y'all really want to do that? Y'all really want? I mean, okay, hey, if that's how y'all feel, if that's how you feel, and now fast forward, and now DeJounte Murray didn't even play last year. He hardly played last year because he was hurt, and Trae Young had his best season of his career from an assist standpoint. So the main thing with him, he has to stop taking those dumb threes. Them logo threes. I mean, you can take them every once in a while when you're feeling yourself, when you're smelling yourself a little bit, you want to heat check it a little bit. But the rest of your team has to be playing well around you to allow you to take those shots. You can't shoot them out of a rhythm. You got to be in a rhythm with the rest of your teammates taking shots like that. You just can't shoot them out of a rhythm. You can't do. You got to lay that. You got to lay off of that a little bit.
the problem is BRF early on in Trae's career, the knock on him was the shot selection. Trae, despite the stats, Trae is not that bad of a shooter. He can shoot the three. He could be a better shooter if he did a better job of his shot selection. BRF, he's a lot better when he's hitting the floaters. When he starts getting to the floaters, that's what he also does well. And with him and Porzingis, there should be no excuse for him and Porzingis not to have any alley-oops or slams up in the ATL. So
they're gonna run. They're gonna run. They're gonna run the offense. I mean, the one thing Trae Young's gonna be able to do, like whether it's Porzingis or whether it's Okongwu, whether it's Ricochet, whether it's Jalen Johnson, whether it's Guye off the bench, it don't matter. Somebody catching something. And that's what. And with as wide open as the Eastern Conference is going to be going into 2025, you got teams like Orlando making moves. You got teams like Atlanta making moves. You're still going to have the Knicks. You're still going to have the Cavaliers. I mean, we don't know what Boston's like. I feel like now
it's wide open. It's wide open.
It is because now you're hearing them talk about Jerry White and Jaylen Brown. Yeah, so it's like,
Not only that, BRF, the Knicks still to this day, they still haven't even found a head coach. And Champ and I, we've been on the record saying, well, hell, why can't they get Michael Malone? Now, they reportedly tried to get Ime Udoka. That wasn't going to happen, especially the year that he had with Houston. Jason Kidd, it just seemed like to me they just wanted to try to get Giannis because of Jason Kidd. So it should be New York to lose, really. But Atlanta, they're doing their thing. And not to mention, it's wide open. Orlando, they had to give up all those draft picks for Desmond Bane. Even though Desmond Bane is a solid contributor, but was it really worth giving up all those draft picks? I mean, hell, the Lakers, the Mavericks didn't even get that much just for the Luka trade.
Yeah, not to mention having to part with Cole Anthony and KCP in that trade.
Thank you.
Damn.
So yeah, man. Hey, I'm extremely looking forward to the Eastern Conference. I don't think I've been this excited for the parity of the Eastern Conference in a long time. Like, and when it was like the days of just LeBron's in Cleveland, yep, we know they're going to the finals. Now it's like you got the Knicks, you got the Cavs, you got the Magic. I mean, you got the Bucks. I feel like if Boston just keeps Jaylen Brown and Derek White, they can still do a little something. You would think. It's just, man, the East is so wide open. I mean, we could say this is the Knicks to lose, but I always feel like when the Eastern Conference is like this wide open, it's never a 1 or a 2 seed that wins it. Or makes the most noise. It's like a 4 seed, a 5 seed, a 6 seed that just comes out of nowhere and a team like Orlando or Atlanta with the matchup problems that they're going to be able to present anybody on any given night. Hell would freeze over if we had an Orlando Magic Atlanta Hawks Eastern Conference Finals. Hell would freeze over. But you know what? The way 2025 looking, it would not shock me at all.
And can you imagine what the NBA on NBC, now that it's back on NBC, the types of stories that they're going to have? So hopefully we don't have to hear any more controversy and stuff like that. Now we can just get into the basketball standpoints and the storylines.
Yes.
So they're going to probably do a lot of coverage regarding the East. We know they're going to do coverage in the West, but with the East, I mean, hell, anybody got a chance. I mean, shit, Champ got a better chance going on Nutrisystem or on Weight Watchers as far as I'm concerned. So that's how it is right now in the East.
Hey, long as you don't put me on Ozempic, we good. But
y'all had me throw the goddamn phone, boy. Ah, man.
Long as you don't put me on Ozempic, we good. But
PSP had me throw the phone, bro. Oh my
god. So, isn't it ironic? With Atlanta, the first thing that gets better with both basketball teams, the first thing they got better was the front court. Isn't that ironic? The first thing they got better with the Atlanta Dream, which is they're close to beating the
Minnesota
Lynx right about now. They're very,
Hold
very
on, they're about to beat them?
Yeah, they're very, very close. So about 30 seconds left, they up by 2. So I'm hoping.
Shoot.
So yeah, the first thing they got better. Number one, BRF, you didn't already cooked all the food and you didn't already cooked everything. So let me go ahead and get my leftovers. I think Houston won that trade. I think really Houston won that trade. Even if they only make it to the Western Conference Finals, they won the trade. Why do I say that? Phoenix is so incompetent. They don't know what to do with these picks. They don't know what to do with the team. This owner is a relatively new owner, but he doesn't know what he's doing. I'm going to just give an analogy. You can give one person a Uzi and another one a revolver, and it matters who gets the shot off first. It doesn't matter who has the superior weapon. And that's the thing about Phoenix. They don't know what they're doing. That ownership doesn't have a clue. So that's why I say even if Houston only makes it to the Western Conference Finals, they've won. I don't believe it's only a matter of time before Book asks for a trade.
Yes.
If I'm him, I'm asking to get the blank out of there yesterday. You traded the core less than a year after we made it to the NBA, less than like 1 or 2 years after we made it to the finals. You fired Monty Williams. You did all of that and restructured the organization. Then a new ownership comes in, and then we go out and get a bunch of shooters. I'm already a scoring machine already myself. What I need 2 other shooters for? Did you see how we made the NBA Finals? I had a rim protector. I had a facilitator. I had guys on the wing that could help me shoot, but I was the main shooter.
Not to mention a point guard in Chris Paul.
Yeah. They could play defense.
Exactly. And even with Deontay Ayton at a certain point, although sometimes he was a liability on defense, that was still a rim protector that can help you in situations. So with this organization, I don't know what they're doing. It's like, yeah, you got some good names on your team. You got some good players on your team. But what are you going to do with it at a certain point? What are you going to do with this arsenal? Are you going to trade Bradley Beal? Is he even tradable at this point? So Houston won. Now, I'm hoping that this can be the legacy maker for KD. Because if he wins in Houston 20 years to the day after Clutch City, 30 years to the day after Clutch City, then, hey, Houston winning a title, that's equivalent to Atlanta winning a title. And look, and can you imagine if next year we're looking at the finals and it's Houston versus Atlanta? Can you imagine that?
We're gonna go back to this. We're gonna go back to the offseason. We're gonna look at the moves that were made, and we're gonna be like, ding. It's what happens when you have a competent front office.
Exactly. But even if the Houston Rockets make it to the Western Conference Finals and lose, they want to trade. Phoenix doesn't have a clue what they're doing. They don't know. They don't know a broomstick from a mop. So,
But do you trust Kevin Durant's health at this point, champ? Even though we've seen him recover from the Achilles, but 37 years old, how much does KD have left in the tank? And not to mention the West, because Oklahoma City, it was reported he didn't want to go to Minnesota. Okay, but we can't disregard Minnesota, and they just took care of Nas Reed. They gave Nas Reed a 5-year, $125 million contract. Your Lakers, okay, Denver. Now it's not going to be easy, champ. I understand if you want to say, hey, Houston won this one because again, we have no. I mean, Phoenix's new ownership is really not going to do much unless if it were like a different ownership. Yeah, you would probably say the Suns would win. But do you trust the Houston Rockets at this point for them to compete? They're going to be very exciting. Don't get me wrong. With that lineup and with their bench and with Ime Udoka, they're going to be very exciting to watch as a team. But do you trust KD at this particular juncture? I don't know.
I do personally. He hasn't, as long as he's been healthy, which has been good the last few seasons, he hasn't declined. I understand the reason why he hasn't been mentioned as far as his longevity, as far as his health and stuff is concerned. He hasn't been mentioned with LeBron simply because he hasn't been going to the playoffs and winning. That's the reason why. So the thing is, if you really want to talk about production, KD has done that. And like I said, with Ime there, Coach Ime Udoka there, he's going to put that team in the best position in order to win. And it looks like to me last year, the only thing that they needed was another score because some of their quote-unquote scores disappeared during that first round. So they
Jalen Green, we looking at you. We looking at you. That was one of the worst playoff performances I have ever seen from a player expected to take a jump and a leap. Jalen Green, boy, you might have. My God, Jalen Green looked like Seth Green out there playing.
I'm trying not to mention name, but you know, I always with you between you, Flash, and PSP.
He did, bro. He did. I have never in my life seen a disappearing act that bad.
He didn't play well. He didn't play well at all in the playoffs.
And they went to 7 games with Golden State. That's what makes it even worse. They went to 7 games, and because of him, like. You went to 7 games. Like, what are you?
And he averaged around 13.3 points, 5.4 rebounds, around 3 assists, shooting 37.2% from the field, 29.5% from downtown. Meanwhile, 66.7% from the free throw line.
He sucked. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. He was horrible. God. Just I'm like, bro. When I heard about the trade and I heard Jalen Green was involved in the trade, I'm like, yep. Least surprising thing I've seen all week because it's like after that series, Houston felt like they lost all faith in him.
Yep, and they needed more scoring, and they needed somebody who's going to be able to. And look. KD is a scorer that doesn't need the ball all the time. He's an off-the-ball scorer. That's the greatest thing about it. He doesn't need to be a ball-dominant player in order to dominate a game. He can shoot. He doesn't have to have the ball. He can spot up in the corner and be a Danny Green, and he can be ball-dominant when he needs to be. He can take over a game. We've seen that.
We've seen that, champ, but will it play out? That's the thing.
Reason. Go ahead, John. You go ahead, and then I'll add.
With Ime, I think he can. And like I said, I know that I don't think we're talking about the East. I don't think we understand how much of a significance that the West is wide open right about now because of some of the coaches that got fired. Mike Malone got fired, and he just coached you to a championship. You saw how bad the chemistry was off during the playoffs. Memphis just lost their coach, and they just lost Desmond Bain. So there's a lot of questions about the West as well. How good is the Lakers really, or are they just a flash in the pan? How good are they? Look, the only sure thing in the West right about now, my humble opinion, is SGA and the Thunder. They just won the championship. A lot of other teams in the West have a lot of questions around. A lot of questions. And so when you think about all the questions that is around the West is wide open as well. I really can't say that I really can say, hey, the West is going to be dominant. The rest is going to be there's so many questions. We know the players are going to be dominant. We know Jokic is going to get 30, 10, and 10 and average that. You know that SGA is going to do his thing. You know a lot of other players are going to be able to, produce. You know John Morant is going to be flashy and he's going to produce. But how well your team success is going to be with the firing of these coaches and with the losing of these players. Desmond Bain was a big piece to that Memphis Grizzlies team. They even had him and John Morant on NBA Jam shirts. So, yeah, you have to ask yourself a lot of these questions. There's so many questions around. I've never seen a season outside of the Last Dance season, and that was just involving one team. Let's just be clear. But it affected the entire. I have never seen an upcoming NBA season where there's so many questions going on around that we're not going to know the answer until probably mid-year next year in the All-Star break because there's so many questions. And if you ask me, the only sure thing right about now, one of the sure things right now is Ime Udoka's coaching and Kevin Durant, he can score. And that other team, they didn't give up a lot of key pieces on that team. They kept the young core that they had. They kept the core that they had, and they just added a magnificent score. And so, hey, there's nothing's for sure in the great words of Sting. Nothing's for sure in the NBA right about now. And it's going to take us at least about the first 2 months of the season to figure out what exactly is going on. Because talk about the NBA, we talk about the East, the whole NBA is wide open. Parity is reigning. We could, like I said earlier, we could very well see Houston versus Atlanta next year in the NBA Finals. Looking at how things are going. Because the whole NBA is wide open. Coaches have been fired. Key pieces of teams have fallen to the wayside. It's a lot that has been going on. And we're not going to know the true effects of that until mid-year next year. It's exciting, to be honest with you, though.
Oh, listen, is there
anything you want to add?
Yeah, the reason why I do trust KD as far as being able to withstand as far as like a long season like that is I feel like at this stage in his career with his skill set, even though he's not what he was 3 years ago, let alone 5 years ago, but the man is still a walking 26-6.
Yes.
I feel like Houston offsets him being 36 going on 37. Houston offsets that with the depth they still possess. You still bringing Tari Eason off the bench. You're still bringing Jayshawn Tate off the bench. You're still bringing key good pieces off the bench that's going to allow him to sit and rest when needed. And you didn't have that in Phoenix. You just didn't have that in Phoenix. I mean, it was like because it's like Phoenix was so dependent on their offense and their scoring. It's like they had no defense to offset anything, and they're getting in shootouts every night. But they just weren't winning because the defense was just so bad that the opposing offenses they were going up against just made more plays and just took them out. I trust Houston more in that sense to allow KD to rest up when he needs to, and then I was like, I'm not expecting KD to play like 82 games next season. I don't think nobody is. But if I can get like 55, if I can get like 65 games, if I get like 65 games out of KD, with the depth they had, and then you just look at them and just say, "You give me 60 to 65 game, and then you be ready for the playoffs." And then we just go from there at the end of the day. So I trust the situation in Houston around him more than I did in Phoenix, which is why I have the coaching. Like I said, it's the coaching and the depth and just everything around him. I trust that more in Houston than I do in Phoenix, which is why I have a little more faith in KD playing up to par and maintaining the high level of play. Which is why I think Houston still. I mean, they were the second seed in the West with that roster as the way it was constructed. So I don't see any reason why only losing Jalen Green and Dylan Brooks will cause you to fall off that bad. They should still be in the top 4 conversation.
I think they'll be there, but again, I just think with KD at this point, I don't expect KD to be playing that much, but at the same time, the window is almost closing because you went to Brooklyn, that didn't work out. You went to Phoenix, that didn't work out. Now you're in Houston. I do not expect a championship in Houston for KD. I understand if you want to say Phoenix didn't win because even though with all those draft picks, do you trust the new ownership at this particular juncture? No. But at the same time, in Houston, okay, yes, I believe Ime Udoka is going to put KD in the best situation to succeed and flourish. But at the same time, come playoff time now, KD's going to have to show something. I believe he's going to be rested, but again, it's not going to be easy for him, even though you say it's wide open, champ. But at the same time, I still can't disregard what Jokic and Murray do come postseason. We can't ignore, remember, in Phoenix, we can't ignore what Anthony Edwards did to him in the playoffs. We can't disregard that. And with the Lakers, even though there's some things, they still got to address the big man issue. But Luka, off to a tremendous offseason start. Look how the way he's been doing as far as his conditioning. And with LeBron, we know he's going to stay ready. And I think, with JJ Redick, who did a hell of a job with the Lakers this year, I think that it's not going to be easy for Houston. I see them making at least to the conference semifinals at best, because again, they're still a relatively young team. The reason why they lost, yes, because of Jalen Green, because compared to Golden State, they're still a young, inexperienced team compared to Golden State with cohesion, with culture, with ownership. We still can't disregard Golden State with what they're still going to do with Steph and Draymond. And then Dallas. That's another interesting thing. Cooper Fly getting drafted with the number 1 overall pick. Kyrie's coming off the ACL. We got to wait and see how he works out. Anthony Davis. I apologize. Anthony Davis. Even though he has durability issues as well too, but still he's capable of giving you a double-double performance. So it's not going to be easy. I can understand Houston. Okay, you gave up Jalen Green. You gave up Dylan Brooks. Not surprised with Dylan Brooks. Jalen Green, if you want to say, hey, we needed a score, we wanted a more efficient score. And yes, KD as opposed to Jalen Green, I could understand from that standpoint. But it's not going to be easy for Houston either, because regardless of the head coach, you still got OKC in the way. And Jokic and Murray. I believe if once they handle the head coaching situation and once they get some players, I think Russell Westbrook is going to move on from them. Who knows? But again, to your point, champ, it's going to be open. But KD at this particular juncture, if you told me the KD 3-4 years ago, that would intensify it. But I'm not sure at this particular juncture because KD, what kind of injury he's going to have. And even though he's handled the Achilles injury well, we've seen other players who've had the Achilles injury. It would be more devastating if his game was predicated solely on just athleticism. KD, his game is fluid because he can handle the mid-range game. He's great off the ball. He's great with the three-point range. He can still get to the basket. So I think Houston, they should be at least top 4, top 5 in the West. But it's not going to be easy. As for Phoenix, Frank Vogel, look, I feel like Frank Vogel has been used as the scapegoat. It's just really more the ownership. Because remember, they had to move on from the disgraced owner, Robert Sarver, with his history of stuff that which we all know. Just go look it up. So if the new ownership is going to take time, but with 5 second-round picks, I mean, there is something that you could look forward to. And how are you going to evolve with Jalen Green, who is exciting, but at the same time, very, very erratic and reckless? And Dylan Brooks at this point, he's only there just to give you a little bit of defense, a little bit of shooting, but you're not really asking that much from him. So, but as far as with Boston, I did like the Anthony Simmons trade because you add another scorer there, an athletic player there, because just in case what happens with Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum's out for the season, Anthony Simmons is young and he can contribute. Now you did lose Porzingis, and how's that going to work for you as far as your front court? Because Al Horford at this point in his career, so Boston, they got issues with the front court, in my opinion. Yeah, you still have Derek White. I like Derek White a lot, but to me, that's how I look at it. But fellas, let's move on to the NFL. Unfortunate new Justin Tucker is suspended for 10 games for violating the league's personal conduct policy. The NBA released it, the NFL released it Thursday afternoon. Reading an article here from Grant Gordon of NFL Network. The suspension of Tucker, 35 years old, will become effective on August 26th, the league's 53-man roster cut down day, and he will be eligible for reinstatement on Tuesday, November 11th, as noted in the league release. As also noted in the announcement of Tucker's suspension, he is eligible to serve out of his suspension while he is a free agent. He's also permitted to sign with any team at any time and can attend training camp and participate in preseason games. Tucker was investigated following allegations of sexual assault. It says here it took place from his rookie place through 2012 through 2016. The allegations of improper conduct were initially reported by the Baltimore Banner back in January 30th. Keep in mind, Justin Tucker was released by the Baltimore Ravens back in May. So I am kind of shocked that the NFL already came down with a suspension with Justin Tucker already. I thought they were probably going to do it a few weeks before the regular season or the preseason. But yeah, it seems to me, guys, it's the end for Justin Tucker because last year he did not have a good season last year. And I'm afraid at this point, how is he going to respond? Not just physically, him being out of shape, because again, in order to play football, you got to be able to play football. He's going to be out. So we don't know what type of condition or shape he's going to be. And then, of course, mentally, because we look at Deshaun Watson right now, who had the exact type of situation as Justin Tucker, went to a different team, got traded, got paid $230 million guaranteed. At that time, the highest paid player, highest paid contract. And look at him right now. So it's a hot mess in Cleveland right now. And with Baltimore, as long as you can get an adequate kicker, hey, it helps your chances as far as the Super Bowl because you've had a tremendous offseason. I think Baltimore decided to let him go because they felt like if they knew anything more, and this is just speculation on my part, if they knew anything more, they would have received a ton of PR backlash. Because remember, the whole Ray Rice video tape, the elevator incident. And if Baltimore knew about all that stuff and still kept them, then they would have received a ton of backlash. And I think Baltimore just figured, you know what, because of the year that he had last year, and given the magnitude of these accusations, we decide it's best to move on from him. The thing is with Justin Tucker, not only it appears that his career may be over, but the Hall of Fame. Will this hurt his Hall of Fame chances? because now because you can factor the off the field issues or alleged off the field issues. You can factor that. You can take that into consideration. And Justin Tucker, the way we were talking about him, how great he was as a kicker, he was destined to get into the Hall of Fame. So my thing is with the Hall of Fame, regardless of whatever crime or sin you've committed, I believe you still should be in because you should be able to compartmentalize. That's me. That's my opinion because I'll look at it with certain examples. Pittsburgh, Ben Roethlisberger. I mean, obviously, you got the two incidents, Lake Tahoe, Nevada, and of course, BRF and Champ, you know very well, Milledgeville, Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
But Ben, I believe he will get in because of the two Super Bowls. As you mentioned, Champ, and we had a discussion about this, I believe, a year ago. Hey, he won it with two different head coaches. Not to mention, it's Pittsburgh. So, because of how unique the franchise, the organization is, I think he'll get in. And there have been tons of football players, tons of athletes that are in the Hall of Fame that have had off the field issues. Of course, Brett Favre, he got in despite the Vicodin addiction, despite the text, the pictures that he sent to Jen Sturger. But despite all of that, Brett Favre was still able to get into the Hall of Fame. Ray Lewis, greatest middle linebacker. But of course, when you think of Ray Lewis, you think the first thing that comes to your mind is Atlanta during Super Bowl weekend. You know, even though I don't believe he'll get into the Hall of Fame because, Lord have mercy, Antonio Brown, do I think he should be in the Hall of Fame based on his play and production? Yes, I do. But what's the likelihood of him getting to the Hall of Fame? I mean, Champ got a better chance fitting a Speedo than AB getting to the Hall of Fame. That's a story for another day.
I'm trying to run no damn Speedo, bro.
But in all seriousness, though, I think it's the end for Justin Tucker with these accusations. How he declined last year. How is he going to be not just physically but also mentally? Because we're seeing it now with Deshaun Watson. Not only his football career, but the Hall of Fame. You got to really ask yourself that question. I mean, certain kickers that stood out. There was him. There was Adam Vinatieri, Sebastian Janikowski. So, yeah. So he really hurt, in my opinion, his chances of getting to the Hall of Fame. So that's all I got to say about that, Champ.
Oh, man. When he comes to collect, he collects it all, don't he? Just being real. Guys, young men, old men, stop doing stuff thinking that it's not going to catch up with you. It is. It really is. Because who would have thought that he was doing all of that? I mean, and we talk about Deshaun Watson. Justin Tucker was taking it to a whole nother level. He was taking it to a whole nother level. The Baltimore Ravens do something. Because the thing is, it's just like you're not going to release a all-time great franchise player for no reason. You're not going to do it. If you have any doubts, then you wasn't going to do it. And so I believe that they saw something or made a discovery, and they made their evaluation from there. And rightfully so. Look, when we start, we see all of these allegations on many different things. When is the NFL going to come up with a ban for these essay and assault charge? When are they going to come up with a ban for it? And I know people are going to say it's a slippery slope, but the thing is, if your team has already released you, they already know something. Either they already feel like that you're going to get convicted, or if it's a civil suit that's coming along, you've already decided to settle or something like that. And they knew it was going to be a PR nightmare. So when are we going to start having conversations about being banned for life in the NFL? I mean, the thing is this. It wasn't until Ray Rice got in trouble that they had the 3-strike rule in the NFL for DV, domestic violence, family violence. When are we going to start having that same energy for these SA allegations? Because the thing is, that's not to say that anything else is not serious. That is serious, especially when you think about things that are going on in the world today. So when is it time to start having conversations about, look, you're banned for life, and until you can come up with information to either prove your innocence or either do some good grace community service, then you have to be banned for life. Because what's it going to say if you have a guy that's been responsible for all of those crimes in the Hall of Fame? There's another guy in the that was Hall of Fame eligible. He's in prison right now. One of the best safeties probably you're ever going to see, Darren Sharper.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, although he has the statistics, although he has the most touchdowns by over a turnover in NFL history, he's not going to get in there. He's going to be banned. And like I said, when are we going to get to the point where you kind of erase somebody from the NFL because of these certain allegations? Like I said, we've seen a lot of bad things in the NFL. We've seen Jamal Lewis and the trafficking charge, drug trafficking charge. We saw Dante Stallworth with the accident, with the unfortunate accident. But when you talk about DV and stuff like that, there's a lot of news media behind. And you got to think about this. There's a lot of things, like I said, that's going on in the world right now that are insufferable. So when you bring that into the NFL, which is probably the most watched, that the NFL is the only game right now. I think you heard me talk about this. That's the only game where we don't have to bring drama into it. We don't have to make it like reality TV. The game sells itself. The story creates itself. It does that automatically. So you have to start asking yourself, when are we going to have to start implementing rules where these players that get allegations are either convicted of these crimes? When is it going to be a conversation of them getting kicked out of the league and banned for life? You ban Art Schlichter for gambling. Gambling's bad, but at the end of the day, it affects you. And maybe, depending on who you are, maybe your family. You kicked him out of the league. Paul Hornung was banned for a year. Alex Karras, he was banned for a long period of time, couldn't get into the Hall of Fame because of it. When are we going to start having these conversations where guys are getting kicked out of the league now? Because guess what? DV, domestic violence, SA, that's not to say anything else is not serious. But when you think about how far the world has come, the Me Too movement, a lot of stuff that goes on TikTok, which we won't talk about here on the dark side of TikTok. How much longer are you not going to have a situation or a clause in place where, okay, you get convicted of this particular crime, you get found guilty, a lawsuit come up and you are found liable? When are we going to start having a conversation about you getting kicked out of the league? And I'm not just talking about for SA. I'm talking about for DV as well. So when are we going to start having these conversations? Because is it going to get to the point where performance outweighs character?
Apparently that's the case, champ, because it seems like to me we've heard countless athletes that have done far egregious things, but to them owners, these players can help us. They can play, and they can also get money, help us make money. I mean, champ, do you remember Greg Hardy?
Yeah, and to your point, I think we talked about this above the air. It seems like everything starts kind of happening when their production went down.
Yeah, When production is high, so is tolerance. But once the production dips, tolerance is gone. And it seems to me with the Ravens, it was easier for them to move on from Justin Tucker, not just because of the accusations, but also his play.
Yeah.
Therefore, or in other words, was he really worth the trouble? To them, no. And plus, Baltimore, you dealt with Ray Rice. Over a decade ago, you dealt with Ray Rice, the controversy, the PR nightmare that the NFL, the rest of football received. Do you want to relive or go through something like that again? If you're Baltimore and if you're Roger Goodell, the commissioner, because again, don't be surprised if reporters, well-known, reputable female reporters like a Jamel Hill or somebody else calling you out for this.
And you got to think about this as well. You went through the Ray Lewis incident.
Yeah.
The Ray Rice incident.
Yeah.
And, when, you went to remember Mount Cody when he retired from the game of football. Remember, he had the pet fighting incident that caused him to go to prison. You've had a lot of character issue guys that it was like, wow. But when are we going to start having these conversations where you're getting banned and you're not welcome here anymore? Because it's getting to a point. Because the thing is, Deshaun Watson, that was one thing. Now you're seeing it in a guy like Justin Tucker, who's taking it to a whole nother level. And if you read the details of that report, it's very, very gory and it's very, very disgusting.
Disturbing.
This to say that that's being kind.
Generous, which is why we will not tell you the exact details, because again, we're on the air. All you have to do, if you really want to know the exact details in that story, Google or whatever. But
yeah,
champ, to me, it's really sad. It's really a fall from grace, because again, he was not
really
just
a fall from grace.
No,
is it really a fall from grace?
No. Here's why I say it, champ.
Yeah.
Because of Justin Tucker, because he was destined, because how great he was throughout his time with the Baltimore Ravens, and now you got fired, you were released by the team, you're gonna be dealing with the suspension. You probably no NFL team probably gonna take a chance on you. We don't know how you're gonna deal with it mentally. Like I said, mind controls the body. Regardless of your talent, regardless of your skill, if you don't have the mind to match with it as well, I don't give a damn. You're going to be gone. You're going to be lost. It's like a chicken with his head cut off. You lost. And you may not get into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, because now you can factor the off the field issues. Shannon Sharpe, and he would know, he said back then you were never supposed to factor off the field issues. Now you can.
Yeah.
That's why I say fall from grace.
Is it really a fall from grace when you already messing up and you know you're messing up? And people, and the thing is, these NFL teams know everything. They know what you do. They know your counselors. They know everything what you're doing. At one point, if you really look back at the NFL, at the history of the NFL, I think it was Todd Marinovich. You remember Todd Marinovich, BRL? Remember Todd Marinovich? Remember at one point, Al Davis had a private detective on him who knew what drugs he were taking, where he was going, and when he was going. So these NFL teams, they got reach. So is it really a fall from grace when you're already planting bad seeds every single where you're going? And you just so happen to get caught? Or is it just you finally got caught doing the stuff that you've been doing? Is it really a fall from grace when you're reaping what you have sown?
Would you say Antonio Brown is a fall of grace?
No. The thing is, it's kind of like, I'm gonna make this comparison. This is something that we all can relate to. It's kind of like messing up in school. You just keep on going. And every time the principal send you back to class, and finally you get into a fight and he suspends your ass, or he or she suspends your ass. Is it really a fall from grace? Is it just the world has had enough with your bull jive? Is it just everybody has had enough? With Antonio Brown, it built up for years. And you heard me talk about Mike Tomlin. Are you really a player's coach? Or are you an enabler at a certain point? So is it really a fall from grace when you finally get that tap on the shoulder of, all right, you're out of here? Or is it just like, okay, we're not going to tolerate this anymore. You've gone too far this time. And we really should have chastised your behind when you did the other stuff in the first place. But we gave you a pass because you were so darn good at your job. If a man gets fired because he's been stealing from the company, every time you look, he's still $1 from the company every time he goes out to eat, and they finally fire him. Is that really a fall from grace, or is that just them doing what they were supposed to do to you in the first place?
So in other words, what you're saying is you felt like it was only a matter of time.
Yes, it's only a matter of time when look, I make this comparison. You know this comparison, BRL. When you're doing all the wrong things, it's kind of like walking a path barefooted. And while you're walking that path going forward, you don't realize you have to walk back. So while you are walking that path, you're busting beer bottles behind you, throwing beer bottles behind yourself. Now it gets to the point where you're at the end of the road. Now you got to turn around. Look at what you left behind you. You left a bunch of busted beer bottles behind you. Now you got to walk across that stuff. And remember, you was walking barefooted on the way to the road where you were going. Now you got to walk back over that path barefooted once again. And now there's glass there. Do you really think you're not going to bleed to death? That's my point about it. When you bust glass behind yourself, and you got to walk that path again, and now your feet are bleeding. Okay, is it really a fall from grace? Or is it the result of the beer bottles that you threw behind yourself, and now you have to walk back over that path that you just left a mess behind? Because you're going to have to walk back over that path. I don't care how much you try to avoid it. You're going to have to walk back over it. So when you have to walk back over it, is it really a fall from grace, or is it your actions catching up to you at a certain point? I think when you talk about a fall from grace, you talk about a person doing good things, a person doing great things, a person who was a humanitarian, a philanthropist, things like that. And then you think about one bad thing that may have happened in his life or her life. When you talk about guys who do the wrong thing all the darn time, but they're not getting checked for it, then all of a sudden they get checked about it. And is it really a fall from grace? Or are you finally getting that check that you wrote? And it's finally cash?
Champ, I think two things could be true. Because when I first heard these accusations, I'm like, what? With Justin Tucker? Because again, I could be wrong. It's not like Justin Tucker before, we didn't hear this type of character or this type of behavior until the accusations. Same thing with Deshaun Watson. I mean, it could be two things could be true, because look, we may not necessarily know the person. We're not around them. We don't meet with them. We don't hang out with them. But we, just like anybody, we wish everybody the best. And we would like to believe or assume that they're good people. And then when we hear all these accusations, these allegations, which are horrifying, I mean, I do think it is I think for me, I look at it as a fall from grace because I'm looking at it from the outside. But Champ, you're looking at it from the perspective, if you know that person, someone very well, and if you've seen that person do something so horrible numerous times, then you don't look at it as a fall from grace. No. You look at it as whatever's done in the dark will always come into light. Perhaps that could be the situation with Justin Tucker.
Look, I'm going to just be real. This is something that my father told me. Never think that you are getting away with something, because it's always going to find its way to the light. Real quick story. When I was a kid, right? My grandmother, God rest her soul, my grandmother Dorothy, she used to live on Shaw Street. She used to have this big old trunk full of ice cream sandwiches. And what me and my cousin used to do, so she wouldn't catch us, we used to grab that big old box of ice cream sandwiches, which was like 5 in a pack. We used to split them, and we used to go up under the house and eat them. So eventually, you know who caught me? My mom. She was like, I know where your ice cream sandwich is at. And she went outside and looked up under the house. There was all those ice cream wrappers because you're not thinking as a child that your mom is somebody's gonna check up under the house, but they knew right where to go. That's the thing. People know exactly what the hell you're doing when you're out here doing certain things, even if it's eating the ice cream sandwich up under your grandmother's house. And that's something minor. But when you're doing all of these certain things, do you really think that you being in a town like Baltimore, that they're not going to hear about it? Word of mouth, everybody is chirping. Everybody's talking. So, yeah, and the reason why I tell that story is when you think you're getting away with something and then you leave evidence behind, especially when you leave evidence behind, you're gonna get caught eventually. And like I said, them was just ice cream sandwich wrappers. Look at what Tuck was doing. So when you think you're getting away with something, no, you're not. You're gonna get caught. And when you get caught, that full force of that hammer gonna come down on that behind. And like I said, it's not really a fall from grace for guys like Antonio Brown, for guys like Deshaun Watson, for guys like that. It's really you stopping and going back over that path that you just walked back over. That's all that is. And once you have to do that, then it's a whole nother ball game after that. It's not really a fall from grace when everybody know you're messing up. But you can best believe if you messing up, somebody know you messing up. Somebody done checked you about it. Somebody done told you something about it, or somebody done said something to you when you messing up. My brother used to tell me all the time when I'm messing up, when I used to mess up in school, hey man, you better stop messing up in school, bro. Mind you, my brother, he had his GED. He's still better stop messing up. Lo and behold, report card day comes. Oh damn. Now you got 3 C's and 2 F's. Now you got to go home and you got to explain why this is going on. Now, not doing your home. Now your parents not seeing you doing your homework. That's it. You can't explain it. Your parents are not seeing you. Your parents told you, I'll never see you doing no homework. I'll never see you doing this. You go straight outside. You get right on that game after school. What are you doing? Your grades better be right. And my brother told me. So everybody knows what you're doing when you're doing the wrong thing. Either you're not getting checked by it, you got a bunch of yes men around you, or they're just looking the other way because you're the meal ticket. A lot of things can be true at once.
BRF.
The whole situation is unfortunate with him. I mean, and I can see it. Honestly, when you look at the last year of his career, like you can kind of a fall from grace. You can kind of say it because I mean, this man is in greatest place kicker of all time conversation. A lot of people's greatest place kicker ever. And just with what he's done in Baltimore, the consistency, the strength of his leg, it's unfortunate. But I mean, at the same time, you know, you got to. This is one of those things where you just have to kind of like you have to you know what I'm saying. You got to suffer the consequences. I mean, you if you did all these things, I guess they're looking at it as far as the suspension from the Deshaun Watson case. I mean, when he ultimately when he was finally ready to play and they had to give him the suspension, how he ultimately got the 10 games. So I mean, you kind of have to if you're the NFL, you kind of have to match that energy with the Justin Tucker situation. You pretty much have to match that energy. So surprising that is this soon. Yeah. Wasn't expecting. Yeah, maybe expecting an announcement, but not like June. Maybe maybe mid-August or something like that when we get around like training camp and stuff like that. Maybe around that time, but definitely not, into June where you're expecting this announcement like that. But I guess it's just one of those things where they're trying to set a precedent here as far as like these cases continually, coming up every so often. And, I guess, and Champ was talking about the whole, banning from the game. I think if this happened, if something like this were to happen again, if I'm the NFL, you have to like really look into something like that if you're the NFL, because you can't keep having these players get involved in these domestic violence situations and then ultimately come back because you really don't have no precedent, no guideline in place to really punish these guys for something like this. I mean, it's one of those situations where you don't want it to get out of hand.
So do you do it like baseball? 3 strikes, you out?
I mean, you have to. I think it's a little bit of a stickier subject when you're talking about domestic violence, though. But
I
honestly,
know.
I think you have to go. You have to go to 3 strikes and you're out rule. Like the first strike is 10 games, the second time is a year, and the third is a lifetime ban. I
Yeah.
think you have to. I think you have to. I think coming up now, I think it's getting that to a point with the NFL where you have to. If this happens again, you have to make a statement with the next person. I think you have to make a statement with the next person. You might, for the next person, even though it might be a first time offense, for the next person, you might have to go a year-long suspension depending on how bad the situation is to really put your foot down and send a message out there. Do you want to do it? No, you don't want to do it. But you don't want these cases to keep popping up year in and year out. And it's one of those things where the NFL needs to take control of it before an even worse situation happen. And I don't even. I had a joke for the situation, but I'm not even gonna say it. I want to, but I'm not gonna say it because I know we respect our airtime here. We kind of need to keep it that way. So I ain't gonna make no Justin Tucker joke right now. But
Just tell us that off the air. Just tell us
yeah,
that.
that is definitely an off the air situation right there. Definitely an off the air situation. But to get back to the nitty gritty of the whole thing, yeah, I think you just have to really like, if you're the NFL and you see the Deshaun Watson situation, you see the Justin Tucker situation, which is like even worse than the Deshaun Watson situation, and that's saying something considering how bad the Deshaun Watson situation was. To saying that this situation is worse, that's like I don't know how he managed to outkick his coverage and stupid, but he really did. He really did to get himself in a situation like that. So yeah, the NFL is gonna have to really nip this in the bud, and it would be unfortunate if this was to come up again to result in a year-long suspension from the league. But you might just have to, with the next case, to make that statement that this is not going to be tolerated, and y'all really need to watch your hands and watch how you act in certain situations, like especially around women, like your personal trainers and your massage therapists and stuff like that. You got to be careful. You really need to monitor your attitude and watch how you are around them. Otherwise, if this happens again, we may get you for a year to show every player in the league that this is not going to be tolerated. If it keeps going, the next high profile case comes up, you might have to lay that hammer down.
I don't know, Champ, if I would go as far as saying a ban just yet. I believe in second chances. I believe look, domestic violence essay, as egregious as it is, I believe in second chances. You paid your price one time, but if you do it again, you have to consider ban. You have to. I don't think, and Champ, the reason why I'm actually kind of shocked you went as far as saying ban, because again, there are gonna be some people they're going to be pissed off what you and I have to say because they look at Michael Vick, particularly, well, he killed dogs. You know, he served time in prison. They're like, wait a minute, how could someone like him get a second chance? But you've explained the story, champ. Which prison that he went to?
He went to Fort Leavenworth. And number two, and I'm not going to denigrate dogs, but the thing is, these are women.
I know.
I put myself in the situation. My bad. I'm sorry. I mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
No, it's all good, champ. And I agree with you. Yeah. I'm not trying to say what Michael Vick did was okay.
No.
But you're talking about women and yeah, you're talking about moms, aunts, nieces, granddaughters. You're talking about all kinds of women. And don't be I'm the reason why I mentioned the Mike Vick one, because there are going to be some people on social media, they're going to say some of this type of stuff though. So I'm just letting you know what's going to happen.
The thing is this, I used to be an amateur fighter. And my thing is, as a guy, you play around in the locker room. But when the girls and the women used to come around, whether that be the trainer, whether that be the cheerleaders, because the cheerleaders used to put, well, not the cheerleaders, but the spirit team, they used to put candy in your locker room and stuff like that before games when I was playing football. And the thing is, what I used to do was I would wear a full sweatsuit. I would wear my full sweatsuit when I was in the locker room when I know they was there, because you didn't want the perception in order to be there. You didn't even want to make it even be a thing where someone can accuse you of something. If you really want an example on how to conduct yourself, look at Keanu Reeves. When he takes a picture with women, he always has his thumbs up and like this, right? Because he don't even want to give off that perception. So you have to think about yourself, and you got to think about this. How would you want your mother to be treated? How would you want your sister to be treated? If you heard about something like this and they acting real kind of brand new and kind of acting fresh, you mean to tell me you're not going to pay them a visit? Regardless if you're a football player or not. Hey, in the great words of 50 Cent, my 4/5 will lift you and your bench press. Mm-hmm. So be mindful. That's the thing. Even when, like I said, as an amateur fighter, when I knew trainers and even in the Army, hey man, make sure you got all your stuff on, man. You don't want to leave no room for perception. Perception is reality. Perception is reality. So I used to keep, and my thing is, it could be in the summertime. I used to have a black sweatsuit I used to wear. I used to put it on. Everybody, hey, the nurses are coming up here. Oh, spirit team's coming up here. Okay, let me put my. So why you putting on a whole sweatsuit? Because they'll never be able to say I did anything inappropriate, or I was dressed inappropriate, or I walked out inappropriate. You got a whole sweatsuit on. You leave no room for even a mistake to happen. And that's the thing. When you're dealing with situations like that, you can't leave no room for any type of error. I understand that people are going to say, well, things do happen and people do tell stories, tell lies. But the thing is, when you have yourself covered, it leaves no room for people to say that you would do something like that.
You don't want to give people the impression.
You don't want to give people the. That's why I said I used to wear a full sweatsuit in the summer. When I knew the nurses and the trainer was coming up, I used to wear a full sweatsuit, or either I used to have one of the other ladies or gentlemen come over there while we was talking, so you could have a witness. You have to do everything to protect yourself and protect your reputation. It says in the 48 Laws of Power, you have a reputation, guard it with your life. So guess what? You have to guard your reputation, especially when you have millions, maybe billions of dollars on the line. You have to guard that with your life. You have the Hall of Fame on the line, your legacy on the line. You have to guard that with your life. So the thing is, don't put yourself into any situation where it could either be perceived that you're doing something inappropriate. It could even be perceived, because you can rest assured there's always that one. You could get away with something a million times. It only takes one time for you to get caught. If you're the bad guy, you got to be lucky a million times. The good guys only got to be lucky once. So just that's how come I say, hey, because you have to put yourself in a position where you're not even in that situation, especially when it comes to that, especially when you, I mean, and this happened even before Deshaun Watson's situation. This happened even before that.
Through 2012 through 2016, according to the reports. But again, man, is really really horrendous news. But I kind of like what you mentioned about the banishment part, champ. I don't believe one incident should define someone. I don't believe that should be like a death sentence. I believe, hey, you committed this act, you have to suffer the consequences. Take some time for you to grow and learn and make sure that this doesn't happen again, because you're already on notice. So if I'm the NFL, you have to send a clear message to everyone. This type of behavior will not be tolerated and there will be consequences. Would I go as far as ban? Not necessarily yet. I do believe in forgiveness and moving on. I believe if someone messes up, they suffer the consequences. And once they finish their punishment, then they can move on as well as the rest of us. But if the NFL, if they don't handle the situation, all hell's going to break loose.
Yes, indeed.
Shout out to our guy Da Vinci Sports, Dev. He left a comment on the super chat. Salute. Show it up right here. Shout out to him. And in case if anyone was wondering, the Minnesota Lynx defeated the Atlanta Dream. But again, you can't go wrong with MVP, Nafisha Collier.
No, I wanted Atlanta to win that game real bad. I wanted Atlanta.
But folks, my favorite subject on the Sports PSP pod, babyface heel. Now, for those who may not know what babyface heel means in wrestling terminology, babyface, a good guy, hero, heel, bad guy, villain, a tweener, in between babyface or heel. So I come up with a list of athletes or celebrities, and me and the panel, we're going to determine whether they are babyface, heel, or a tweener. We already mentioned this individual, so might as well get him over with. Ray Rice. I say tweener because although people will always look at that incident, and I think the reason why he was no longer on an NFL team because he was in decline, age. So when you're not the same player as you once were, you're not going to get back as far as a job in the NFL or any sports profession. But the reason why I say tweener is because unlike someone like a Greg Hardy, he actually showed contrition and remorse. He took the same approach as Michael Vick. Although he didn't serve time in prison or in jail the way Michael Vick did, Ray Rice owned up to his mistakes. Ray Rice did show an appropriate level of contrition and remorse. I saw the Today Show interview when he was interviewed by a certain individual on the Today Show. I think you know who I'm referring to, that's looked very negatively nowadays. I've seen him being interviewed by Jamel Hill, who used to work at ESPN at the time, and Christine Leahy on Fox Sports. Ray Rice has owned up to his mistakes. Ray Rice has shown contrition and remorse. He's gotten to counseling, therapy. He has said he has done all the right things, which is why I don't necessarily say if someone does something one time, it should be a death sentence. I do believe in second chances. I do believe in forgiveness. BRF champ, I'm quite sure you feel the same way as I do. And I think if Ray Rice was still could still play, I think he would have had a chance to be back in the NFL. That the reason why he was not in the NFL because of his play, his production, particularly his last year in Baltimore. and the video. But because of the fact that he has shown the contrition and remorse, and he's owned up to what he's done, I say tweener. But there are going to be people who say, well, because of that incident, and we talked about it before, champ, you always say yourself, people are going to always remember however they want to remember you of. And anytime when you think of Ray Rice, you're going to unfortunately think of that incident. But I will say tweener is because he has owned up to his mistakes. He's shown contrition. He's shown remorse. And to me, that's all you can do. If that isn't enough to tell someone that they haven't learned from the error of their ways, then quite frankly, I don't know what else to say. I don't know what more you could ask from someone. That is my opinion. Whoever wants to go.
Kyle said it. I believe he's a tweener as well because he didn't handle it arrogantly. There's a difference when you handle something arrogantly and you handle something and you dive full-fledged and you take the criticism. And in the great words of Triple H, you eat crap and you like to taste stuff. There's a difference. When you handle things arrogantly, I don't think people are as forgiving. There's a difference between being sorry because you're truly sorry and being sorry that you got caught. And I think that him and Michael Vick, guys like that, were truly sorry for what they did. And he understood why he didn't get another job. He understood that. Funny thing about that situation, well, it's not funny, but it was kind of ironic. That situation was so widespread that they had a show. They based a show on Law and Order off of that incident. And in fact, Megan Good played the wife. Shout out to Megan Good. But that's how deep that goes. But yeah, he showed attrition. He showed that he was truly sorry about what happened and what was going on. And he made the amends that he needed to make. Now, whether people choose to believe that, it's up to them. But I believe he made the amends that he needed to make. Nobody's squeaky clean in this world. In the great words of Eddie Griffin, you're not going to pass away clean. So that's what I will say.
BRF?
Probably would have to go. Probably have to go tweener too. I mean, y'all pretty much laid everything out there. Really, I have no need to really add any more to it. Y'all touched all the important points there, and yeah, I'd have to agree with y'all. Yeah, there's nothing more I need to add. So yeah, but I agree though. Definitely a tweener.
All right, next one. Angel Reese. I'm going to say tweener. I can't call her a heel because I do like Angel Reese. I do like her style. I also think from a marketing, from a branding standpoint, she's smart. You know, she has her own podcast, the Unapologetic Podcast. She's had guests on her show, such as Mariah the Scientist, Lotto, of course, yeah, the video of her in Sexy Red, but yeah, that's a story for another day. But yeah, that was. She had Shaq on the show. She's had she's had other guests on her podcast. Plus, she trademarked Me Bounce, so I think she's done a good job. I love her brilliance, marketing, the endorsement deals, the McDonald's, the Reese's Puff cereal. So I respect her for that. And I do think that she has gotten a bad rap as a basketball player. Because anytime when I go on social media, particularly YouTube, Instagram, or TikTok, I hear a lot of people on social media saying that she can't play, she can't shoot. She's like the Andre Drummond of the WNBA, or even Draymond. And I'm like, first of all, how's that a negative comparison? How's it negative to compare her to Draymond? Draymond, last time I checked, is in the Basketball Hall of Fame. Eventually will be in the Basketball thing. He's a champion. Now, is Draymond is great as a shooter, as a scorer? No. Draymond is not really known for that. Draymond is known for playing hard, playing defense, as a playmaker, as a passer, can facilitate. Angel Reese still has a lot to prove. In my opinion, she still has a lot to prove. However, she is a terrific rebounder, leads the WNBA in rebounding, fourth in steals, and she's improved as a passer, as a playmaker. Does she still need to work on her perimeter shot? And as far as her interior scoring, yes. Even the great Lisa Leslie mentioned it on her podcast. That's something that we have to fix on. And unfortunately, people are going to say she's a heel because, again, of the trash talking. It all goes back to between her and Caitlin Clark, with Keith Olbermann, the criticism that he gave Angel Reese after Angel Reese and LSU beat Iowa. I mean, you just didn't like the fact that Angel Reese was doing the "you can't see me" what Caitlin Clark was doing. But keep it in perspective, folks. Trash talking is all a part of basketball. And also sometimes the media. Because, again, we talked about Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark, the foul between them two. They've even admitted they don't have any personal beef or hate towards each other, which led to the situation with Ryan Clark and RG3, with RG3 assuming or speculating that Angel Reese hates Caitlin Clark. She's a tweener. I can't necessarily call her a babyface because she does get a lot of attention and controversy. And sometimes, champ, I hate to say it, sometimes with Angel Reese, she does open her mouth a little too much from time to time. And sometimes when she opens her mouth and she doesn't back it up, it opens the door for criticism. But I don't think she's a heel either, because I think she's a good enough player. I still think she is someone that may not be the franchise player for a franchise, but do I want her as the cornerstones, as a key contributor? Absolutely. And I think off the court, she's great. I definitely see life beyond basketball with Angel Reese, whether she's doing podcasting like all of us are doing, or branding, commercials. Angel Reese definitely has something because she obviously has the personality, the style, fashion. I mean, you saw her at the Met Gala with Megan Thee Stallion. Hey, that's a wonderful thing. But I mean, for me, that's for obvious reasons. But I digress. But champ,
Babyface.
I knew you were gonna say babyface.
Hey, just because the masses do not like you, that does not mean you are terrible. And now the criticism, if you're looking at the internet right about now, is being equally distributed, especially after that incident with Marina Mabry. What happens is this: everybody, when the person they wants to win, they want them to showboat. They want them to act crazy. They want them to do all that old wild shit. They want them to celebrate yourself. You deserve it. You won. But when somebody who we don't particularly like win, oh, we want to become class policemen then. Show some class when you win. You weren't telling the other guy that when they was winning. In the great words of Vegeta, don't be absurd. You're just saying that because you're losing.
I'm laughing, champ, because not because of everything you're saying. The reason why I'm laughing is because, oh hell, I'll say his name, Jason Whitlock, in terms of the criticism that he has given Angel Reese. And anytime when I listen to him criticize Angel Reese or any athlete that he particularly dislikes, you can just tell it's just nothing but horse shit, which is why you've often said your worst fear is to be him.
Yes. And the thing is, like I said, and I can play it like I said, the fight with Android 19 versus Vegeta. And you heard Dr. Giroux say, stop, that's enough. He said, don't be absurd. The only reason why you're saying that is because you're losing. You came here to destroy me. And now that I have the victory over you and I throw it back in your face, now you want to all of a sudden have an attitude like I'm the bad guy. Let's not even get into the literacy program that she started with Magic Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
Let's not even get into that. And people, regardless, she may not get the same fanfare as Caitlin Clark, rightfully so, but people are. She made people pay attention to the game. Even one of the Baltimore Ravens players said that when she showed up on Monday Night Football, he shook her hand and said, "You're the reason why I watched the W." So just because the masses do not like you, that does not mean you're terrible. The thing is, look, if the masses didn't like me, they probably highlight how many pieces of chicken that I eat, or how many pieces of shrimp that I eat, or whatever. This guy's gonna, let's bet how many shrimp that can Champ eat today. Because they don't like you. Because it's just like, hey, whenever our heroes lose, we always try to look at the other person and say you're the bad guy. Win with some class. No, you weren't telling somebody else to win with some class. Why? Why do I have to be the bigger person? Because when they was out here showboating and talking trash, you don't say nothing. When they have a bad game, you don't say nothing. I have one game. I have a triple-double, have a game of my life. You do everything you can to discredit it. You do everything you can to discredit it. Even when I do something good, you try to discredit it. And this ain't race specific. And it has nothing to do with race before people get in the comment spot. Because if you really look at the discourse around Angel, a lot of us knock her as well. But what have you done in order to deserve criticism? You said, I'm going to sit out if we don't get a contract. Other basketball players have come out and said the same thing. But because she did it, because she said it, oh, she's talking. Come on. The reason
because they don't like her.
Because they don't, like I said, when you like somebody, there's nothing they can do. In the great words of Future, if you like somebody enough, they don't have to lie to you. You'll lie to yourself. So the thing is, she's not like I said the same thing about Sador, even before and after the tickets.
And you said that last week about Cam.
Yeah, they're not in serious trouble. Yeah, with Cam. They're not in serious trouble with the law. They're not going out here committing crimes. They're being young athletes. You don't see her out here doing stuff that would be deemed obscene. They're being young athletes. These are young athletes. And it's so ironic that guys our age will sit around here and criticize these young athletes when we was doing worse shit than they was. We just didn't have a camera on us. So that's just the truth.
No, it is. No, you're right about that, champ. Hell, we've done a ton of shit that we're not necessarily proud of, and thank God we weren't living in the era of social media. Otherwise, our asses would have gotten exposed.
Exactly. Our asses would have been grass, and they would have been the lawnmower. Let's just be real. So yeah, if you could look, if I'd have had a camera on me back when I was like, let's say, 25 years old. Ain't no telling what the hell would have came up on the internet right about now. Ain't no telling what the hell would have came up on the internet right about now. So when these young athletes, no matter who they are, and the thing is, it's starting to extend. Everybody's starting to give Caitlin Clark the same criticism. You're a flopper. You're a flopper. You do that. She started to receive the same criticism. Now we're seeing it across the board. So with you not committing crimes, with you not doing this, with you just beating somebody, the only thing that you did, the worst thing that you did is beat somebody in a basketball game, a game that you can't see me sign. Granted, people will talk about, well, look at the clothes she wears. If humbleness was really respected, we respect modesty in every which way. If we really respected humbleness, then everybody would respect Russell Wilson. I'll say that again. If we really respected humbleness, then everybody would respect Russell Wilson. Because he ain't said 2 words his entire career. But yet, the masses trying to find a way to knock him, and future fans try to find a way to knock him.
That's just unfortunately part of the game, champ. Do you remember Allen Iverson when he was on Quite Frankly with Stephen A. Smith? And he said, LeBron, they love you now, but mark my words, at some point, they're going to hate you. Yes. And the thing is, the bigger the person, we just want to find some reason to dislike or hate them. And that says a lot more about us. But again, champ, as you always tell me, people are always going to remember you based on how they want to remember you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I think we was talking about this last night. I hate to steal the thunder of the other podcast, but we was talking about this last night, BRF. Remember how much they hated DC, Daniel Cormier?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
This man is a model citizen. He's a family man. But yet they booed the hell out of him and loves John Jones for all the bullshit that he did. They booed a family man and they just cheered John Jones to life even after everything. So the thing is, it's all about how people want to remember you. And if the only thing that you are going to hate me for is I did this and I'm classless all of a sudden, we've seen guys literally lose. We saw Ohio State literally lose on their home field and start a whole ass fight because you went out there and you got your ass whooped on that field. But somebody do the "you can't see me" sign. I got one for the thumb. Now all of a sudden, you need to show some class while you're winning. Yeah, right. She's not in trouble with the law. If you really look at how she interacts with fans, how she interacts with a lot of the kids, there's one WNBA super fan who brought her cereal to the game and asked Angel to sign it. She took her around, met the players and everything. So it's all just because the masses do not like you does not mean that I'm terrible. It's just the masses do not like me. Now, does she needs to get better as a shooter? Absolutely. As a shooter, absolutely. But the thing is, corrections on the basketball court always have room for improvement. Like I said, like you just said earlier, she's first in rebounds and fourth in steals. She's a DPOY candidate right now. Right. After winning it in unrivaled. So, like I said, the masses, they can say what they would like to say. Angel Reese is a babyface. If you really want me to be honest with you, had it been any other player other than Angel that did that, would we really be saying anything? And not just that, if you really look at it, the very, very next year, they call that entire LSU team dirty debutantes. Let me say that again. They called that entire LSU team, Anisha Morrow, Angel Reese, Flau'jae Johnson. They called them dirty debutantes in the media. Just because they wanted to cheer for UCLA. And let's not even get into the fact that old Don Imus and some of the comments that he made about women's basketball players.
Oh, yeah. Remember what he said about them Rutgers women, them nappy-headed bleep?
Yes. So the masses don't mean nothing when you talk about babyface and heel. It doesn't mean anything because guess what? A lot of them have their own perception of someone anyway. They're just looking for a reason to have it. And like I said, these young athletes, they're young. They're going to make mistakes. It's called growing pains. It's called growing pains. You're not going to have a 20-20 game every damn night. Not even Jordan had a 2020 game every night.
BRF.
Hmm. Hmm. Gotta go. And this is still Angel Reese, right?
Yes.
Um, I mean, I feel like there's really no other way to go with her, but with being a tweener, because I mean, she's not necessarily like a full. She's not. I mean, she's never not a full-fledged heel because I mean, she's got her fans, she's got her support. I mean, she's got those that want to see her success, that want to see her succeed, that want to see her play well in the WNBA and have and kind of etch out a pretty storied career for herself. And then you got those that just that just don't that want to see her fail, that don't want her to do well. So I mean, she's kind of like Angel Reese for me has really been like that polarizing kind of figure that like divides everything up between those that want to see her do well and those that don't. Um, whether it's talking about her with the me bounds, which fair play to her getting that patent, getting that trademark was like that was like that was like a thing of beauty to to not only to not feel offended, but to talk giving credit to the fans or the people or whatnot that were making me bounce a thing and giving credit to all of them, and then to go and trademark it is like it's crazy. It's crazy. And then like just focusing on her basketball skills as well. Like, she's not like she's not a sniper, the mid range games, the 3-point shot. She's like none of that. She's just somebody that's pretty good at basketball. Some people can just enjoy that about her. Some people can't, and it's unfortunate. But it's one of those things where it kind of is what it is. So with Angel Reese, I would have to go tweener with her, just because I don't think she really leans. I mean, she tries to be the villain, but I mean, it's like you know, it's one of those things where it's just like she's like a tweener. Like everybody's not gonna hate her. I mean, just just who she is, whether being playing basketball or off camera, like you know, no one's gonna like really like you know get on her like that. So I would have to, yeah, I'd have to go tweener for Angel Reese as well.
All right, last one, BRF. I'll let you go on this one. Meta World Peace.
Ooh, I'd have to go tweener there as well. Like one of the most polarizing figures, players we've ever seen. Meta World Peace, FKA Ron Artest. um,
Malice at
say
the
what you will
Palace.
about Matt. Yeah, exactly. That's what it's pretty much what it comes back to. It always comes back to Malice at the Palace. Like it never fails. Um, like, and I remember. Oh Lord, I think I remember where I was too. Like I was at home. I was at home, and like those like. So you mean I'm at home and like that's like I can't remember what network or what channel that was on, but I think it was like regional or I can't. It was like a regional or something like that. So couldn't really like see it like that. And then you're watching, and then, what I'm saying, I'm watching ESPN and I'm watching the highlights. And then when everything just kind of broke down, you kind of got this look on your face where your eyes look like quarters because you don't know. You like, huh? Like players running into the stands to go with fans. Like it started from a fight and then it just escalated up to that level of just craziness. Like to this day, that is still one of the craziest sights or just moments I've ever seen. Like the Malice in the Palace is just and and the thing is, you have to remember that Indiana squad was like really really good, really good. Because I mean, you got like This was like Jermaine O'Neal and Steven Jackson
Reggie
and
Miller.
Reggie Miller was there. I think Jamal Tinsley was there. That Indiana squad was like that Indiana squad was stacked. It was lethal. That was an Indiana squad trying to make a championship run, and like one night just killed it. One night just killed it. Like pretty much your important pieces got suspended, and it just really the momentum that the Indiana Pacers had built up going at the time was just kind of ruined. I mean, and who knows, like those years, if it wasn't for the Malice in the Palace, that could be one of the biggest, that's one of the more underrated what ifs in NBA history. What if it's the Indiana Pacers in the Detroit Pistons shoes in terms of like representing the Eastern Conference and playing for an NBA championship? Like one of the more talked about stories we could have had was the Pacers potentially running it back against the LA Lakers and trying to get their get back from the 2000 finals. Like, the 99, like those 2000 finals, like that was like so just it was unreal. Like you didn't think something like that was real and was really happening, and you're just watching it unfold, and it's just like, man, like the one shot of Jermaine O'Neal basically running like cross court and nailing that fan in the face, like just man, it's wild. It was just so wild.
And let's
And
not
metal,
forget the situation between him and Harden in Harden's last year in OKC. Remember how he elbowed Harden in the
he
head?
elbowed him. He elbowed him in the head. I remember that, and it was like he was like he was just, I don't know if he was celebrating. It was like he was celebrating after making like a big. I think it was like a rebound. It was like a putback or something like that, or whatever it was, and he was just celebrating, and he made a play, and then all of a sudden that elbow turns and bam, just it's like sometimes with Metal World Peace or Ron Artest or whatever you want to call him, it's like it's like is he doing this on purpose? Like who? Like I mean he's one of the best defenders like of all time. He's one of the best defenders of all time. He could give you scoring when you needed to score. He was a really good 3-point shooter. But just the fighting and it, yeah, I think he's a tweener for me because a lot of these people just fall kind of into that same kind of tier where it's like you have those that support him and those that don't mess with him like that. I mean, me personally, I'm a fan. I was a fan of Metal World Peace playing ball. I always felt like he was a good player. Um, don't get me now. I'll say this though. Don't get me wrong. When they were going up against like the Hawks at the time, I'm always like, man, I hope they just run these boys off the court because I'm tired. Because he was Ron Artest then, so I was like, man, I'm tired of seeing Ron Artest's face. I'm tired of hearing his voice. I'm just I hope they beat him. I'm just tired of everything because he's just one of those players like. He was just one of those players like you can root for him against like certain teams that you don't really care to see win, and
Yeah,
then he's just one of those where it's just like, man, I hope they beat him by 20. Get him a damn nerves. Like like he was just one of those players for me. Um, Polarizing, very very polarizing. Yeah, I'd have to put Metal World Peace in that. I have to put him in that tweener category too because I mean it's just really how you feel as far as like whether you like them or not. I think a lot of times when we do this segment and you pick the athletes and we list them as tweeners, they pretty much fall in that same category. It's like half of the fans love them and half of the fans don't. I mean, it's just kind of that polarizing, like it's that polarizing effect that they had on us, whether it was like growing up or like early adulthood, and just depending on the era that they played in. So yeah, man, yeah, he's a tweener for me. Like I liked him as a player, but it's just like he won everybody cup of tea.
I would say tweener as well. But his time with the Los Angeles Lakers, how he delivered the championship, especially in Game 7, how he hit the big time three. And Kobe, he didn't want him taking that three, but once he made it, Kobe, Kobe does that, that fist thing. He was like, "We gonna win this. We gonna win this." Remember how Champ, and you would know as a Lakers fan, remember how Ron Artest, Metta World Peace and Kobe met?
Yeah, I remember that Houston Rockets game. That was pretty interesting. What's so ironic about that? Kobe asked for him to come there, even after that incident. That was the funniest thing about that. And with the whole Matt Barnes situation, when Matt Barnes acted like he was going to throw the ball and hit him in the face, he asked for that Matt Barnes to be there.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, Metta World Peace, man. I like Metta World Peace, man. I don't know. My mom hated Metta World Peace. She couldn't wait till the Lakers to get rid of his ass. I'm just gonna be free.
Apparently, your mama does not like bad boys.
No, she does not. That's probably why her dad put me in ties and shit every day when I went to school. So that's probably the reason why. But
I don't understand how she don't like bad boys, but Dallas Cowboys, they feel bad boys. But that's a story for another day.
That's another story for another day. We'll talk to you about that. She didn't particularly care for Michael Irvin. The guy who she kind of fond of was in it because he was a sneaky clean guy. Him and Troy Aikman. But Metta World Peace, man. I say he's a tweeter, man. Y'all remember Tyler Hansberg?
Yes. Tyler Hansberg, yeah.
The Psycho T. And he used to scare the hell out of everybody. And one day he looked back and he thought somebody pushed him or something. He looked back and saw a Metta World Peace and he didn't want no smoke. I'm like, nah, I'm good on that. That was the whole thing. That was pretty interesting, man. Talented player, yet volatile. Funny thing about that, during the course of that season, Balance for the Palace, he was actually going to see a therapist that year. He actually started doing a lot of therapy because he felt like everything was just crashing and just coming down on him at a certain point. He just felt the pressure, which fair. You're part of the championship team. You just lost last year. You're trying to find. He almost retired that year, but Donnie Walsh wouldn't let him retire. He's like, "No, you're not retiring, bro. I can't afford to let you retire right now." He was like, he was strongly against it. During that Mouse in the Palace, he was really going through a lot of things mentally at a certain point. And what's so funny about that, he was on the table doing his breathing exercises that his therapist taught him before they threw their drink on. If you watch the Untold story, the story of Untold on Netflix is very, very insightful. But, like we said about with the whole Rice situation, he came out during the NBA of all things, the biggest victory of your career. You finally win a championship. Remember how he apologized to Reggie Miller, Steven Jackson, and Jermaine O'Neal. Remember how he apologized to them on national television, and I think it was Trey Wingo who had to kind of bring him back to the victory because he kind of flashed back and he said, "Man, I'm so sorry that I couldn't enjoy this with the Indiana Pacers, and although I'm a winner right now, I still kind of feel like a coward because I let them down." Remember, Trey Wingo had to pull him back, like, "No, let's talk about how you just won this game. You hit the game-winning shot." And he just kept saying, "Man, I felt like a coward because, after that Bounce in the Palace incident, he actually traded, and he ended up going to the Rockets." And ironic, that Rockets team wasn't bad either. Remember, that team had a 22-game winning streak with him and Tracy McGrady on that team.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, man, Ron Artest, man, I like Ron Artest, man. Metta World Peace based his number on how many weeks that Michael Jackson was on the top 100 list. Like I said, he was just volatile at a certain point. All of that over emotion, which can happen when you play a sport like basketball, man. Which can happen. And one of the best rebounders and defending players that you ever want to see, man. He's going to give you all the heart that you got, all the heart that he has. But like I said, he's just so volatile at times. It's a fine line between being emotional and volatile. And he crossed that line a lot of times. But when you talk to his teammates, especially Steven Jackson, They'll tell you he's a good teammate. He works hard. You know, he did everything he was supposed to at practice. You didn't have to worry about him missing meetings. But I think that everything's going to boil down to people are going to remember Malice in the Palace. People are going to remember that big elbow, that Randy Savage elbow that he put
James Harden.
on James Harden, and people are going to remember the Psycho T moment where, you know, Psycho T, he was always in somebody's face. He turned around and seen that it was Metal World Peace that pushed him. He was like, nah, I'm good. I don't want no smoke, bro. So but unfortunately, that's how he's going to be remembered. But, you know, hey, let's not forget about that game 7 game winning shot. A very, very instrumental shot. Got us number 16. So that's something to behold. And he came back from it. He, you know, after that, he was in some incidents where he was the bigger person. He realized what he had did was wrong. Sometimes you got to get that big tap on the shoulder in order for you to kind of, you know, repent or what have you. So, Metal World Peace, man, thank you for bringing that championship to Los Angeles. That'll never be forgotten. I still got your jersey in my storage. I'm too damn big to wear it right about now, but when I get down to size, I'm gonna wear it again. So, but big shout out to Metal World Peace, man. I like Ron Artest, man. I wish he didn't make music though, because that was terrible. But that was good. Metal World Peace, man. You the man, man.
All right, fellas, we got the last 2 topics right here. Let's try to keep this real quick. Favorite Linda McMahon moment?
Oh man, that's easy. That's easy. That's easy for me. It's WrestleMania 17. That's easy for me. When you know they when Trish, when they brought her out when she was still, you know, in that kind of in that like comatose, almost like kind of medicated and all that other stuff, and then the moment where she finally stands up out the wheelchair and just looks Vince dead in the face, and then just use the man to kick the pole field goal with him. I mean, that was like, for me, it's easy. It's easy for me because just the way they told their story, it was just sick, and it was like, man, like you're like, man, how they put something like this on TV and get away with it? But just the way they told that story, the ending, the you know, Vince getting his comeuppance, and just the story, like fun, like getting like, Trish turning babyface that night and running and getting Steph. And then the whole thing with Linda, kicking Vince, and Shane hitting the first time you see Shane hitting the coast to coast drop kick with the trash can in Vince McMahon's face and getting the 1, 2, 3. For me, that was as crazy and as sick to me as a storyline as that was. The payoff was just so good at WrestleMania 17. So for me, it's WrestleMania. It's WrestleMania 17 when it comes to Linda McMahon, and it's not even close for me.
I'll go. Her and Eric Bischoff. Her and Eric Bischoff. Yeah, BRF. I see them eyes. And I'm like, how in the hell? I mean, Champ did tell the story. Vince was the director behind the scenes when Eric Bischoff and Stephanie McMahon. I mean, Eric Bischoff and Linda McMahon. And that tells you something about Vince. It tells you, hey, he's passionate about his business, but at the same time, he got some problems. Problems. But I loved when her and Stephanie, when they announced that Stone Cold was going to be the commissioner. I love that part. Let's not forget the situation between her and Kane. Remember when Kane tombstone pile drived her?
On the stage.
On the stage.
And I'm like, how the hell did Linda deal with that? But and then of course her and the entire family getting stunned by Stone Cold Steve Austin. Although the one in which Stone Cold did, that was the worst one that he did with Linda compared to Vince, Shane, and Stephanie. But her and Eric Bischoff, that's what really stood out. I'm sorry, but again, I gotta call it for how it is.
Linda McMahon. The I Want a Divorce segment. That was funny when she called Vince McMahon with Tori Wilson. That was the funniest shit. Like, hell. You don't trust me? What you mean? Vince, what do you do? You got to go watch that segment in order to figure out why I'm laughing. Because Vince McMahon, I asked myself some questions about you after seeing that documentary and after looking, when you're a kid, you don't realize a lot of stuff, like something is wrong with that. But as you get older, it's like, what is that? It's kind of crazy. When you start getting into full adulthood, you're not a kid anymore. You're not in your 20s. You're still not trying to hold on to your innocence as a child. It's like, Vince, what the hell is that? The I Want a Divorce segment. When she WrestleMania 2000, when she made the Fatal 4-Way match, brought Mick Foley back even after he lost Hell in a Cell at No Way Out. That was good. One of the other moments with underrated when she stripped Stone Cold, and she told Stone Cold, "See you, Steve. You can't go around beating the hell out of all of the other WWE superstars."
Right.
He had to get he had to be physically provoked in order to do something. But Stone Cold being who he is, he's gonna get his way. But
DTA.
Man, that was great, man. Linda McMahon. Oh, not to mention when the very next week after she got stunned, everybody thought that she was going to come to the rescue of JR, but she didn't. She gave him the low blow. He told us he was fired. So, I mean, and that hey man, that whole Tombstone situation with Kane, that was crazy. That was crazy on stage. So that was wild. But Linda McMahon, I salute your wrestling career. We'll leave it at that.
I think the craziest thing with the McMahon family was another thing before Mr. McMahon had his match with Shawn Michaels, his prayer. Remember how he, Steph, Shane, and Linda were in the room praying? He said, "God, the Lord."
Yeah.
But again, Chad, the more you actually watch the Mr. McMahon documentary, the more you realize what the hell was going on behind the scenes.
The more you realize, the more you watch certain stuff, the more you realize you're not acting at a certain point.
Imitation is art, or vice versa.
Well, no, the thing is, there's a difference between imitation, meeting art. Because, like, we make fun of certain stuff about myself and how I'm not shy about making fun of myself. I'm not shy about doing that in real life. That's not an act. I do that every day. It's not an act. The way I joke around on the show, that's not an act.
No, it's just who you are.
That's just who I am. So if you, and a lot of other stuff, which we won't discuss, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
it's not an act. The reels, it's not an act. So you got to ask yourself, is this really an act, or this really a show, or you got something twisted in your brain where you got it in your brain, I could go a little bit far overboard, just not too much, because this is a television show. And be lucky this is not uncensored television. Because when you really look at the landscape of how things changed when Vince left, The thing is, women's wrestling changed for the better when Vince left. If you really want me to be honest.
No, it's true because again, he didn't prioritize women's wrestling as much back then. And plus, we knew that once we saw WCW. Remember the Medusa incident? Remember when she threw away the WWF Women's World Title in the trash, claiming that's how she thought about the belt? They didn't prioritize it enough. And I think another reason because with women at the time, Vince wanted to attract them, make it marketable. I mean, Jerry the King Lawler back in them days, the way he was saying the language, I mean, it is nothing. I mean, he makes Booker T look like a choir boy.
That's the thing. People get on to Booker T about saying ah. That Booker T is classy with his stuff, and plus, his wife came out and say she's okay with how he talks, but the way that Jerry the King Lawler, that's but there's a lot of stuff that happened when we was kids and when we was young adults that if that happened these days, they will be hanging picket signs outside of the WWE headquarters.
Absolutely, yeah. And guys, one last one. Favorite Fabulous track. Breathe. I love that track. Him and Tamia, the remix of So Into You. I love Fabulous just as slow, just how smooth he is with the rap. Him and of course R.I.P. Date Dog. Can't deny it. I'm rider, you don't want to mess with me. Mm-hmm. So I love that track. But So Into You with Tamia. Make Me Better with Neo. Love that track from him. But Fabulous, and of course, Throw It in the Bag with him and Dream. I like the remix one because of the beat, Dream, and then with Drake. So there's some good tracks that I like about Fabulous. This Is My Party. I like that one. Him and Lil Mo. But those are my favorite tracks from Fabulous.
I'll take this one. Look, one of the most underrated mixtapes that you ever want to see. The whole Freddie Jason mixtape with him and Jada. The Soul tapes. The Soul tapes were magnificent. What's so funny about that? During the promotion that we had, the Get Back, when he remixed Jay-Z's Dead Presidents. And usually when people use the Dead President's beats, they will use it to its full extent and do it just like Jay-Z did. He turned it into a whole other song. And it was arguably better than Dead Presidents, arguably. So his style of delivery, he made everybody want to wear throwback jerseys. I will say that, man. That when you talk about somebody being fresh as hell, he was fresh every time you see him, man, because the Big Boy wore it first, but Fabulous revolutionized it. He made you want, I mean, I know I spent about a grand or two on throwback jersey when I was younger because of Fabulous, man. That was crazy. But like I said, the Soul tapes, This Is Family with him and Joe Budden and Ransom. There's so many, man. Like I said, there's a lot of mixtape. Like I said, the Soul Tape saga was great. Freddie versus Jason. Living Wrong, Can't Let You Go with Lil Mo. Man, like I said, one of the most underrated. Oh yeah, don't forget Lullaby on Low Soul's Way, one of his most overrated albums. Low Soul's Way was a very, very underrated album. Now that movie that he did with that album, I don't know what to say about that because remember, it was a whole little mini movie with Low Soul's Way that he had with that. So, and that was good. I'm feeling like I'm back. Everybody tell the streets that I'm back. Yeah, but Lullaby was great. like I said, Low Soul's Way was very, very underrated. I don't care what anybody says, man. I listened to that when I was overseas, when I was deployed, when I was in Iraq, and that was one of my songs that we used to run to, and we used to play Madden to right now. That was the album that you could put on and you could just let it load.
BRF.
I've always been a fabulous guy. Underrated, underappreciated. Especially late in the game when he got away from certain old tendencies when he was young as far as his raps are concerned, and kind of he leveled up and matured. Like, the whole FABOLOUS. Like, you ain't got to say that in every track. Come on, man. Come on, you ain't got to do that. you ain't got to do that every track. I'm just saying. I mean, trust me, that's your signature. I respect it.
I think you started doing that after Cedric the Entertainer said that in the video. This man, he always.
Hey, let me tell you something. That was one of the best pieces of advice he could have took. Stop doing that. One of the best pieces of advice he could have did. He could have taken. Because let me tell you something. He stopped doing that, and it was like the song quality it picked up. Like the song quality got better. But that's the thing though. Fabulous always put out good records though, and that's the thing about Fabulous. Like even like it was whether it was Breathe or Can't Deny It or like the so Into You. Like he's got a version with Ashanti and a version with Tamia. I mean, come on, man. Everybody's favorite version. I feel like everybody's favorite version of that song should be Tamia, because Tamia was the reason why that song sounded as good as it was, because she is like an amazing singer and she carried like a lot of the bridge, a gorgeous voice, like a lot of the bridge, the hook, and like her portion of it was just so eloquent, and it was just so well done by her. And then like with some of his newer stuff, like you be killing them, throw it in the bag. And honestly, he became one of the kings of the feature. Like like later on in his career, like the rockin' that thing remix. His verse on that was nice.
Girl, I want to hit that more than I want to hit the lotto.
Exactly. Like he killed that. He's got a gosh, there's another one. He's got a verse in the the Chris Brown, the Wishing song. He's got a verse on that remix that just hit. Like it was a good song. So I mean, Fabulous was, like I said, he's one of those underrated ones that I think now you would hope fans of hip hop would like appreciate more, because like Breathe is still like Breathe is still like one of those anthems that you'll still play, and it's just like one of them songs you can play and you can still rock it. Like I'm honestly surprised that's still not more of like a stadium, like a sports anthem. Like I'm surprised you don't hear that more like in stadiums and stuff like that, because that's how, I mean, it's upbeat. It gets you pumped. It gets you hyped. So I would probably say my favorite Fabulous track is probably Breathe of all time. But yeah, he got some. He's definitely one of those underrated, underappreciated like artists that I'm glad to see him. I'm glad that there are fans that are putting his name out there and giving that man his flowers, because he deserved it. Like I said, even if the spelling of the name was a bit of a mood killer in a lot of his early songs, I still respect what he did as an artist. He's still a really good artist, and he was one of those that was just always slept on for some reason. So shout out to Fabulous. He was he was definitely one of those, and you got to get a man of respect. So shout out to Fabulous.
Guy right here, Justin from the JJ podcast. Shout out to you, man. Yes, sir. Die hard Knicks fan, die hard New Yorker, man. Shout out to him. But fellas, that concludes the rest of the Sports PSP podcast, man. Um, Before y'all say what y'all gotta say, I'm very proud of the amount of success that we are having here on the Sports PSP podcast. Already over 100,000 subscribers on YouTube. We're continuously putting up great content. By the way, champ, that video that I put out with Calvin Benjamin almost at 4,000. So if you look at the video, you know, the one on Calvin Benjamin and Cam Newton on my TikTok channel, almost at 4,000. Proud of everyone here, not only on the Sports PSP podcast, but everyone in general. Brendan from the block, Hot Take, Kenny, Mario Knows Best, Luis Knows Tunes, Harrison, Broad, Roundup, Certified Chris, of course. Shout out to my girl Nessa, who I would love to have on the Sports PSP podcast. Ladies, if y'all interested in wrestling, if y'all want to know wrestling, I suggest you take some time and listen to Nessa on the Sports for You Wrestling podcast. Shout outs to John Watson. Shout outs to a lot of good people. The Stay Tuned Live podcast. Shout out to my good brother Bobby Brown in South Orange, New Jersey. The Ball Hog Sports Talk podcast. And like I said, man, we're just gonna continue to do whatever we can to reach to that point. And I'm very happy, very pleased with the success with the Sports PSP pod. I'm glad with what we're doing. There's always room for improvement. Like I said, Mama PSP's birthday is almost a few days away. Thank you again, Mama PSP. Thank you again, D. Like I said, you're like a big sister to me. You do everything for me. Love having the conversations that we have on the phone. Appreciate everything that you've done. I want to thank my good friend Angie, who is also a friend of the family. Love her. You're like a big sister to me as well, too. And thank you for what you've done as far as helping out with my mom at work. I know working with Mama PSP ain't the easiest job in the world to be dealing with at work, but I appreciate the fact that you just help her make her day and just do everything that you do. And of course, shout out to another good friend, my friend Kaylin, from the office. Hopefully when I see you again at the bar, we'll definitely talk, hang out, fun stuff, a lot more, man. But thank you, BRF. Thank you, Undisputed World Champ, for everything that you do as well. Keep up the great work. Any final words y'all want to say?
The 4th of July holiday is coming up. Notice it's a tenuous time, but find a reason to celebrate with your family, with your friends. Be close to the ones that care. And look, now is the time, considering how tenuous and how tight everything is, to give people their flowers, give people their love. And sometimes you got to give people love even when they don't deserve it. And, you know, spread love, not hate, and be there for one another in this time, because we got to find each other, because we need each other now more than ever. And that goes across the board. Always a privilege, a pleasure, and an honor in order to be on the Sports PSP podcast. I salute you, PSP, doing a hell of a job. You know, like I said, all the time, I'll be in the middle of doing something at work, writing up network plans or something like that. Like I said, I work in the IT field, the technology field. I just don't talk about it as much. But I'll be writing, doing something, and then here come PSP. Hey, I got one for you. I'm like, hey, another banger. So it's just like, you know, like Seamus says, banger after banger after banger. So, man, I'm proud of you for what you've done, everything that you have accomplished, and everything that you get as far as accolades, as far as, you know, accomplishments, everything that you get for as hard as you work. And like I said, I call you the Tom Joyner of podcasting. This man works his, excuse me saying, this man works his ass off. And I'm not saying that as a euphemism either. He literally works his ass off. That's not a euphemism. He literally does. So, and at times we got to check each other to, hey man, we got to slow down, because times we be tired. Sometimes we be up to like midnight at night. So yeah, so give everybody their flowers, spread love, give people who are close to you And now's a good time to make amends. If you ain't at peace with a lot of things, time to patch it up.
Be all right. Thank you again, champ.
Yeah, hey, it's. I mean, what man? What more can you say? I mean, this whole experience for me, you know, I've been doing the TikTok thing since like 2020, and then with guys like PSP, guys like Champ, who really kind of brought me in to and really kind of get my name out there, allow me to share their platform. It was one of the best things that's ever happened to me. I salute both of y'all and PSP, like all the work that you do on a continuous basis, putting out the shorts, putting out the really good shorts, really good content, just showing the world your worth and what you do and what you're capable of. I'm like I can't be any more proud of you as far as like getting to know you personally as a man, having so much respect for you and watching you do the damn thing. I think is one of the best things about being a content creator is getting introduced to new people and developing a good friendship, a good relationship, just developing just full on respect. And then you grow to ultimately want the successes for them as much as they want it for themselves. And I think that's the best part of being in groups like ours and just being able to take the most out of this and be grateful and appreciative of the opportunity that we've received, but also knowing what we want to do and knowing how we want to grow and how we want more of that. So I can't thank y'all enough for allowing me to be able to share a platform to allow me to do what I do on a bigger stage week in and week out. I can't thank y'all enough. And saying so, shout out to both of y'all. This is probably one of the greatest experiences I've had, and just and because I wanted I kind of I wanted to grow like that as well. I wanted to keep going, and I'm grateful to be able to share a platform like this. So shout out shout out to everybody in the Pod for Grind chat. Shout out to all y'all, and a quick shout out. I know PSP brought up Nestle. Shout out, shout out, full humble roses. Shout out, full humble roses. Shout out to Nessa. Shout out to Angel. Shout out to the homie DC Dallas Cash. Like, shout out all of them. If y'all are looking for a good wrestling podcast, get informed, you learn stuff, but you having a good time. Follow the Humble Rose podcast. They are one of the better podcasts out there, as well as the Sports for You Wrestling podcast, who we've had the pleasure to be on multiple times. John and Trail and Big Nine, you know who you are. So
Yeah.
you know who you are. So shout out to you too, my homie. So it's always a pleasure. I have a blast, and it's like I always say, y'all hear me? A topic not thought about is a topic not talked about. So salute to everybody and continued success to everybody in the chat, man. Shout out to everybody.
One last shout out. Thank you again to my favorite college professor, Jennifer Lazarus. I just want to say thank you again for helping me get into the media, get into podcasting, get into doing something that I've always wanted to do. And like I said, you're like a mom to me. Thank you for helping me. Even though you say you don't want to take credit, but I'll give credit where credit is due. Thank you. Thank you for always being there. Thank you for just having thank you for just being a pleasure to talk to and just helping me with a lot of things. I know it's difficult. I know it can be challenging for me for time to time, given the fact that I have autism. And you've told me about your experience with your son with his autism. But it's mothers like you, it's mothers and it's women like you that give sons and give men like me hope. I mean, just being there for me, just having a conversation with about anything and just making me feel like I can do something. I'm worth something. Because I don't really like elevating myself. I don't really like taking all the credit. I like sharing the wealth. I like making sure everyone else gets their flowers. I'm fine with getting the wealth. I'm fine with getting the flowers, but everyone else deserves flowers as well. I would the Sports PSP podcast would not be where it is if it were not for guys like BRF and Champ and so many others. So I want to make sure they get their flowers. I want to make sure they get their due because chances are they may get the opportunities. And I want them to capitalize. I want them to eat. I want everyone else to eat. So I want to make sure everyone gets their due, gets their recognition. And Professor, like I said, love you. Thank you for everything that you do. Um, as for the audience, thank you as well. Y'all also responsible for the Sports PSP podcast being a success as well. As Champ mentioned, we are going through some tough times. Please enjoy the rest of the weekend. The 4th of July is about to come soon. If you're gonna drink, please drink responsibly. Have a good time. Be around family. Be around friends. Reminisce on the good old days. Sooner or later, football season is almost around that corner, and then we got college football season to can't get wait to watch the college football season, and of course the NFL season. So definitely look forward to that. Keep on watching the WNBA. Keep on watching the WNBA, especially in the Fisha Collier. Another great performance for her. Once again, validating why she is the MVP. Please go check out Champ on TikTok. He's going to, of course, do his coverage on the WNBA, the Al Roker of journalism, as I often call him. And on that note, we is out. Peace.